126.
On Wall Street, the Dow fell 125 points. I'm Ann Cates.
Wherever you are, make it Truth Frequency Radio.
Astronauts to the moon.
Ten, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Not to get off track here, but I feel like we're in the Truman Show, and we're in a snow globe, and we just shook it up.
Welcome to reality.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. You are tuned in to your protection from deception right here at truthfrequencyradio.com. And don't you dare touch that dial, because you are tuned in correctly, receiving the optimal signal, dare I say, the nominal signal, for the number one show on TFR on Monday nights between the hours of 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Pacific. That's 9 to midnight Eastern, and that show is Jeranism Monday Night Raw, and it starts now. I'm your host, Jeran from Jeranism. And to my left is no one. And to my right, believe it or not, is Missa. You all seem quite shocked. Or maybe not. So before we say hi to her, I will first bring you up to date on the situation. Last week, if you listened, or you may have heard, that I took a little time to explain or talk about the most recent happenings in my life, which included the revelation that my wife and I obviously were on two different pages. I explained that she had gone outside the marriage for some reason or another, and that going forward it would just be myself on the show. So when Missa found out that I had talked about it on the show, she had said she wished she would have been there, or she wanted to say something. And I said, oh, well, sorry, I took it upon myself to tell the story. And then the plan was I was going to Canada this week, and thank you to everyone who I met there. Awesome group of people. Canada is an extremely beautiful place, although I didn't get to see a lot of it because it is covered in smoke. But I'm sure without the smoke there, it would be even more beautiful than I thought it was. So that was a great time. Thank you to everyone who attended and to Robbie for inviting me. The plan was for me to come home, which would have been Saturday, late Saturday, and we had a rental car planned for Monday. That's today. We were supposed to pick it up. She was going to pack her things, and it was going to be c'est la vie, or, go our separate ways for now. But we had actually a ton of trouble getting the rental car. We just got a car this evening, so that meant, because Mrs. doesn't like to drive at night, that she was going to be leaving tomorrow. And then she said, could she come on the first half hour of the show? And I said, are you sure you want to do that? So she's certainly not here by my asking her to be here. She is here on her own. She's actually, they put a metal cage in between us. No, they didn't do that. We're actually within reaching distance, believe it or not. No. As I said last week, I wish no evil on her, but she is here. She is joining me. Missa, how are you?
Well, I'm here. That's for sure.
I didn't throw the voice. That's not it's not one of my clips. That is actually Missa in the house.
Yes, it is.
So she wanted to, basically, I think last week, if you remember, after the first two half-hour segments where I talked about it, somebody in the chat had said something to the effect of, Jeran, you always tell us don't trust men. Here's you giving your side of the story. Here's you telling us what happened. How are we to trust you? Where's the proof? And I said, well, the proof is, I guess Missa would have to say that, or Missa would have to tell you that, or in some other way. I said maybe she'll eventually one day talk about it. So maybe she will spend tonight or spend a moment saying that, or maybe she will not. I don't know. Is there anything specific you wanted to say, or to? I mean, I know you heard what I said last week, so maybe you can tell people if I was in the correct direction, or did I stray too far, or why don't you talk about that, I guess? Because I don't want to be mean. I mean, I could just...
No, I listened to the show, and
I could just play sound clips too, like... Are we back on?
Are we back on?
We're checking right now with people to see if we're back on. We heard that we went off the air. I don't know why. According to this, we are on. We've got phone calls. All right, we're back on.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. Thank you for letting me know that to David Weiss. He says we are knack on. I guess that means back. Oh, back on. Okay. He corrected that. All right, good. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know where we dropped off, so maybe David can tell me. David, do you remember what we were last saying, or where we were, or how long ago are we talking? Well,
okay.
I basically, Mrs. said that she owed all the listeners an apology, and then was saying that we talk about liars and
and saying how lying has ruined the world, and I'm sitting here saying all these things when I myself am not, in my personal life, being what I'm speaking or practicing what I'm preaching. And I think that our listeners deserve to at least to hear me say something instead of just disappearing. because they've supported us and I don't want to say that they've trusted us, but they listen and I give advice when I just don't even. I have no grounds to be doing any of that, and ultimately too, what? Go ahead.
Well, I want to ask, does it solidify more of what we've said about liars?
Yeah, because lying does destroy things. It does not. There's no good that can come from lying. There's no good that can come from keeping things from somebody else, especially from somebody you care about and somebody who would never do that to you. Lies are never good. Never. I do. You asked me earlier, if I were to go back and say something to you before any of this happened, before I did what I did, what would I have said? And my first answer to you was I would have communicated to you better. And then you said, well, what would you have said exactly? And then when you said that, I was thinking I don't know what I would have said. And then I was thinking just now, a little bit earlier, or a little bit ago, a couple minutes ago, I was thinking, I always say, be the change that you want to be, that you want to see in the world. So instead of me, if I don't know what I would have said, then I definitely would have done what I would have wanted. Does that make sense? It would have, the second I saw or felt the flirty, exciting new things were exciting me before I even took action on them, I should have just come home and started doing that with you. I should have. I just should have been. I wish I was. I had been strong enough to resist that, and then smart enough to recognize what was going on and turn it around and realize that, and just remember that you would have done anything for me. And if I had just, I guess, started doing those little things that I thought were exciting me or whatever, if I turned around and done them with you, then I know that none of this would have ever happened, because I would have been the change that I wanted to see, I guess, in our relationship. Does that make sense? I know I'm not really making sense.
No, you're making sense. I think for a lesson for other people or other couples, I think what you're saying is important in the fact that you didn't recognize, because would you agree with me then that say 6 years into our marriage or whatever, that you would have never said, if somebody said, do you need your husband to be flirting with you? Do you need your husband to be sending you sweet text messages? That you would have said no?
Yeah, no, I would have said no.
So I think that's important for people to see, because what basically happened was we were both under the impression that those things aren't needed, but then somebody close to us took an opportunity to kind of start throwing those at you, and I'm guessing at first you weren't or they didn't do anything to you, but as they continued,
and as I allowed myself to just joke around too, and then it just started to become more it started to become something that was oh, this is actually really fun. I ignoring it really before, and then it's just it's something that when I saw it, when I first started getting the feelings of oh, I like this, I should have stopped doing it with him, stopped texting him or having him. I should have told him, stop texting me that's inappropriate, and then start texting you that way, start being all flirty with you and all, because that's, our relationship did start off with, we were sexually active before we even were officially together. That's what we were attracted to each other sexually, and so I just wish I was strong enough and smart enough to recognize that and do the right thing and not what I did. But yes. Does that make sense?
No, I mean, it makes sense. I mean,
it makes sense what I'm saying, not obviously what I did. I should not.
Well, I mean, to be honest, and if I'm being completely honest, it even makes sense to me what you did, but not in the way of, oh, I forgive you, it's nothing.
I know that. Yeah.
I mean, but as far as understanding why, well, I mean, sure. I mean, if some girl was constantly doing that to me, and maybe I resist, and then it starts to kind of weigh on me, I could see possibly that becoming something that made me go, oh, wait, this isn't going on at home, and I need to bring that back because it's obviously exciting me. Again, I'll stick to the fact that I wouldn't have done it to you, but again, that's hindsight's 2020, because it's easy for me to say that now that you've done what you've done. So it's easy for me to say, oh, I would have never done that. Now, too bad we couldn't go ahead 95 years in the marriage and say, did he ever do this? Or, that's not possible. So, you fucked up first. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But,
that's true.
I'm honest when I say that I don't have bad feelings towards you. My buddy's going to get hit with a crowbar in the back of the neck, but you, on the other hand, no. I don't think that I have ill feelings towards you. I don't, tomorrow you leave and we'll see what happens from there. I think we need time, and or at least I need time. I mean, I don't know. You need time too, but we'll see what happens down the road. I can't picture it. That's just me saying that now. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, so I hear. But then again, maybe that's not the case. Maybe in some cases, absence makes the heart realize it needs to start anew. I don't know. So it's just going to take time for me and time for you. Yeah. So, but I do appreciate you saying that you apologize to our listeners, because that is part of this to me in a strange way.
Yeah, they're like family, and I betrayed them too because of me speaking, great things or telling people how to do things and how lying is such a terrible thing and how this and that, and then. But
I do think you meant those things.
And that's I did, and I do still, and that's like probably one of the top 5 hardest things is like now that I recognize that I really have no leg to stand on by speaking these things. Like that's the toughest. Not toughest. There's definitely more toughest, but I mean that's one of the hardest things too. Is
well, I mean we're not saying either that we never lie. I mean we are human beings, and I think that's. I hope people understand that. I try and get that across that we are far from perfect, and that I think that the important thing is that we do want to change the world, or at least I do, and I think deep down inside, that you do too. I do,
but I also know that I can't do anything. I can't change anybody if I haven't, gotten myself right first. So.
I would agree with that. You have to put on your oxygen mask before you put on the babies, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do appreciate that you've, apologized to them, and that I think they deserve it. So, thank you for that. Did you have other things? I know you heard last week and just said you wished you could have said something, so I don't know what it was that you were wishing. And, we've kind of kept our space. Obviously, I was in Canada for 5 days, so we weren't anywhere near each other. And then, the last day or so, we haven't really been around each other much. And, today we had to deal with this whole issue with the vehicle. But that ironed out, and we took care of that. And so I think that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to also. I guess I could leave with this, but if I take a deep breath first, is that I do hope that that I can someday be able to earn your trust again. I know that sounds impossible right now, and it probably at this moment it is, but do still love you, and I do hope that that maybe by this time that we have a part that I can become stronger as an individual person, and then therefore hopefully maybe in the future, if we do ever decide to try again, that I grew strong enough to be strong for both of us too. So and maybe not. I don't expect it, because if I were you, I wouldn't expect it, just because of how much damage I've done. But I'm just hoping that that this time I can, or this time that we have, that I can just be personally strong in my own, and what I stand for, and then hopefully that would make me stronger in the future, as if there is one. I mean, does that make sense? It probably doesn't even make, but
No, it does. It's and from my perspective, I hope so too. But
yeah, but I know I don't expect it, and I shouldn't. No one would. So
I mean, I guess sometimes you're at the mercy of your heart, because it's not I feel like this is not a decision that the brain makes, that either I will see reason or want to trust again, or I will see reason not to.
Yeah.
And so that's certainly something that it's not smart to make predictions, because things can change.
Yeah.
So it's not worth saying whether I think that will or will not happen.
No.
It's just it's not going to happen now. That's basically where I am with it. And but I hope, I sincerely hope that nobody has hard feelings against you, because it's me that she hurt, and I don't have those hard feelings. So I would hope that doesn't that nobody else does either.
But they can if they want to. It's allowed.
Oh, they can, and they should. No, I'm it's I don't know. It's this.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies. Oh no, you can't disguise. You can't disguise.
All right, so I guess now we realize what is causing the problem. It's I'm not allowed to play sound clips, believe it or not. According to David, it keeps happening when I use a sound clip. So I will close that, and that's gone.
Okay.
So no more sound clips. I'll just sing them.
Okay, good. That's better.
So I do appreciate any final words. It's I think we have a break coming back. Yeah, thank you, David. I now know that I won't play sound clips. I don't know why that would cut off the radio show.
That doesn't
make any sense. Maybe it's, I don't know. Can't explain it. So going forward, it will be me on the show. Missa is heading home to her family for some time away, and like I said, I wish her the best. I wish it was under different circumstances. I wish that she was right here with me next week and the week after and the week after. And it's not my decision that she's not. Sadly, like I said, it's not a mind choice.
Well,
here.
it's my actions that caused your decision
right,
for
that's what I mean.
to be that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the lesson to everyone is to be honest with your your significant other. I will tell you from the position of somebody who has been deceived that anything would have been better. Even coming home and saying, I am madly attracted to another person and I no longer am attracted to you. And
I wish I knew how to communicate like that. I wish I learned how to communicate like that. I really do wish.
Hopefully it wasn't that bad that you were going to say that, but
What?
that you're attracted to
No,
somebody
I said
else.
I wish I could. I wish I was able to communicate to like my feelings when I get them, or my even just. I wish I was able to use my words better. And I think a lot of times in the past, though, I would get emotional when I would talk to you too. Not even about, it wasn't even about anything, but sometimes if I would be upset about something or whatever, I would get emotional, and I hated crying, and I could never get my coherent words out, and I hated that, and it wasn't comfortable, and it wasn't easy for either of us for me to cry about dumb shit. So, and I think to avoid that, which was a stupid choice, but to avoid that, I just stopped doing that, and I wish that I could have just been stronger to be able to just communicate something and not worry. I should have just.
Yeah, I mean, that's not. I don't think that's a good thing to say or a good explanation, because if there was any issue, then it should be brought up, because.
Right, and I don't even think there was really an issue. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's hard for me to hear. That's why I say that I wish you would have fallen in love with somebody else. I wish you would have been unattracted to me or not want to be in this marriage. That would make things easier, because otherwise it just comes down to a very, 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 very poor decision. Yeah. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Jeranism Monday Night Raw.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Gio, founder of Truth Frequency Radio and host of Beyond the Veil. The mainstream media and establishment are running scared right now, and they've prominently featured TruthFrequencyRadio.com as number 89 on the federal government's hit list, also known as the fake news list, which is essentially a list of sites slated for censorship on Facebook, YouTube, Google, and other social media. Now is the time for you to get involved. Share your favorite TFR shows far and wide on forums and social media. Tell your friends and family about your favorite shows. If you're a business owner, get in touch with us to feature your product or service right here on TFR. And if you haven't done so already, become a TFR supporter now and get unlimited commercial-free downloads in high quality. Visit truthfrequencyradio.com/sign-up. Thank you for making TFR the leader in independent and uncensored talk radio. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Message and data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. After I left baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. So I got back into the game with Nugenics. I'm feeling stronger with a lot more energy and drive. You want to get back into shape? Get Nugenics. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Frank's right. Just text STAY to 42424 to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And guys, she'll like the difference too.
Nugenic samples are not available in stores. To get your complimentary bottle, text STAY to 42424. That's STAY to 42424.
This is Phoenix of Phoenix Rising Radio. If you are interested in the law of attraction, then I recommend to you my book, The 3 Keys to Heaven, How to Unlock Your Power Within. The 3 Keys to Heaven is a guide to effectual manifestation. What you will learn from the study of this book is not theory, but is proven fact. You will learn effective techniques that will enhance your faith and your ability to powerfully manifest your heart's desires, whatever they may be. Once learned this method of manifestation, will forever change your life. So go to Amazon.com and search for the 3 Keys to Heaven, how to unlock your power within.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome back. You're listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Hopefully we are still on the air. Rumor has it we dropped out a few times last segment, but I am back. And it's only me. So hopefully that wasn't too awkward. Apologize if it was. But, you know, we've been very public about our relationship from day one, at least day one that we've been online and day one that we've been doing this show. And, you know, I felt fine with kind of ending it like I did last week. But then, you know, for her to say that she wished she had something to say, I didn't think it was fair to say no. So, you know, I let her say her piece. And we will move on with our lives, and you will move on with yours. And we shall see what happens. We never know what the future holds. For me, I just have to find a way to go forward in a way I never expected. That's all. It's when you put that ring on somebody's finger, I think that you clearly expect to spend the rest of your life with that person. I don't know anybody that doesn't, that has ever got married with the intent of it not being forever. So obviously I'm not alone in that feeling. So it's just different. It's just hard. It's just something I still wake up every day and maybe for a split second don't remember, and everything feels all right. And then it hits you again and you're like, oh yeah, this is my life. So it's not easy, and I'm not going to pretend it's easy. You know, that would just be more lies. It's not easy. It's not expected, but we can't give up. We can't throw in the cards. We move forward despite whatever it may be. Although I did realize something while I was saying the show opening. I said your protection from deception, and then I realized like I need to be listening to TFR some more or something, because it didn't. I wasn't very protected. So maybe I need to be listening to every show on TFR. Or I'm missing the protection clause. So I hope to help you stay away from the deceptions that are out there. There is a many of them. We could start by talking about the issue that has come up this week with the removal of Alex Jones from several online platforms. Alex Jones, who many might consider a controlled opposition. Others might consider him a truther. He certainly has done a decent job of getting a lot of truth out to people. I don't think anybody would deny that. Whether or not that is directed or allowed at some level is up to each individual person. Whether or not you think he's Bill Hicks, whether or not you think that he is a crypto Jew, or whether or not you believe that he is, you know, an implant, whatever it might be. You would have to admit that there is much truth that comes out of the man's mouth. He's made many predictions, and you know, I think to help wake a lot of people up, many people probably have gone through the same steps in like the program that I have. One of those being that you probably found a lot you found a lot through him and then moved from there. I can still remember, this is going back probably 5 years now at this point, when I used to listen to him when I was just starting to become involved in the truth and realizing the deceptions. Very quickly, I saw that he was a fear porn pusher. The whole idea of selling all the prepper stuff. That's when I realized that some of the things he was saying were definitely too far. The black helicopters and the microphones in the trees were probably a little bit far, but who knows? I wouldn't put it past the fact that if I went out and climbed a tree right now, I could find a microphone. So I certainly don't know what your opinion of him is, but I will tell you this, that if you are any kind of American, if you are any kind of truth seeker, then you understand the importance of the freedom of speech. And it is probably the most important thing that there is. And I've heard a lot of stuff online and read a lot of stuff this last week, and it's pretty miserable, that people seem to think the issue here is whether or not what he was saying was considered hate speech, or, as most people seem to put it, is he can say whatever he wants, but how dare him question the Sandy Hook parents? How dare him call an event like that a fake? And here's what those people don't realize is, what if Sandy Hook was fake? What if the government is paying people, paying off their houses? What if there's some strange sexual deviants, pedophiles at the very top of the government structure that have used families who have been involved in the trade, sale, manufacture of child sex slavery, satanic abuse, has used those parents to perpetrate crimes, to perpetrate deceptions? Because if they know that you've done something or other, the simple threat of revealing it is enough to make you go along with anything. It's one of those rare things that animals don't have to deal with. No animal has ever been threatened to have something revealed about them, especially when that revelation will land you in jail for the rest of your life, will land you in the newspapers for a long time. You will have the eyes of every person on you, the disdain. Not to mention, if you're a pedophile, you do not get treated well in prison. In fact, you may be raped, you may be beat up, jumped. And so just the threat of, hey, we know what you did with your daughter. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go along with this plan. We are going to say that she died in this particular incident, and we're going to pay off your house. And that person has no choice but to go along with that. It's just no choice. The other option is the ultimate. I mean, the only thing better than that. I mean, there's nothing worse than that. Death is better than that for those people. So when you realize that, you need to understand why it's important that we allow free speech from everyone. And I've also heard people saying, well, YouTube is a private platform. They're allowed to do whatever they want. And that's not so true, and I'll tell you why. Because YouTube years ago got in a lawsuit, and basically it was agreed upon that YouTube cannot be sued for something that's on their platform. So if I were to put a video up and somebody were to kill somebody because of that video or whatever, then I can be held responsible for my content, but YouTube cannot. So YouTube cannot be sued because they are an open platform. So if that's the case, then they must allow all content or be perfectly clear and execute perfect judgment in their allowing or removal of different accounts. Now, if you're thinking that Alex Jones was removed because of conspiracy theories, well, tell me why no channel that promotes Bigfoot or no channel that promotes other such so-called conspiracy theories has been removed. And if you're talking about hate speech, I will find you, 100 videos in the next minute that are absolute hate speech against so many people that clearly certain hate speech is allowed. And what is hate speech anyway? I hate liars. Is this hate speech? I can't stand liars. I hate them. I want them gone. I want a world without them. Is that hate speech? What is hate speech? What is allowed and what isn't allowed? You have to ask yourself the questions that are not being asked by other people. That we cannot have companies that are going to remove people from their platforms selectively. Again, I'll tell this story. I know I've told it before, but it's just a good visual for people to understand that if I decide that I'm going to allow free speech on my front lawn, and I say my front lawn is now going to be the mecca of free speech, come here and say whatever you want and say it loud and proud. And so, the first couple weeks, a couple people start showing up. I've got 5, 10, 15, 20 people on the front lawn speaking their minds, speaking their piece. I don't affect it at all. I just let them speak. They can say whatever they want. And pretty soon, because I've provided that venue, I start to gain an audience. Pretty soon, there's people in the street listening to the 20 people on the lawn. And then before you know it, that group grows to 40, 50, 100 people on the lawn, all with free speech. And then before you know it, the streets start packing in. Here comes a rather large audience, and everybody is here to listen to the free speech speakers. And then I start putting concession stands out there, and I start putting T-shirt stands, and I start selling subscriptions where people don't have to look at the ads. They can just get the content for free for $4.99 or $9.99 a month. So before you know it, now I've got thousands of people lining up on the lawn, and I even start to give some of them money. Hey, here's a cut of the concession stand, since you're speaking your mind and people are coming to this venue to listen to you. Here, take a couple bucks. So now these people are more apt to want to be here to say their piece. And so now I've got this huge audience. People are coming from everywhere. And before you know it, I've got the #1 platform in the world for free speech. Then you have to ask yourself the question, is it okay at that point for me to start removing people from the lawn that are not speaking as I would like? Sorry, my concession stand over there selling Budweiser does not like that you're talking about Coors Light. You're out of here. Somebody else is talking about Muslims, and I've got a rather large Muslim audience. Get out. And before you know it, I can then create the idea that everything being spoken on the lawn is free speech and is each person's individual opinion, when really it has become a purpose-driven, agenda-driven narrative, where I now control what words are being said by those on the lawn. And then I put threats out there. We're now going to remove you from your monetization if you say things that are not advertiser-friendly. And I'm going to give you strikes if you say things that I deem hate speech. So you can say certain things and not others. Somebody on Twitter, and I'm not sure the exact account, but took something recently that a black person had tweeted that basically said white people are this and white people are that and white people do this. And that tweet was up and was getting lots of activity, retweets, etc. So the person just took the tweet and took the word black and changed it to white and put the tweet out as if it was their own. And within several hours, or I think I heard an hour or something, their account was closed. So that's the kind of thing where there's a problem in that we can't allow some things for some and not for others. And we can't be selective on what we allow. And if we do, then we just need to be open about that so people can make the decision to watch or not watch. And I guess that's what YouTube is really doing. And so, the goal needs to be to find this other venue, where maybe someone out there is going to allow that kind of free speech platform, because it does feel like you're handicapped. It does feel like you have to be careful. You don't want, well, that's exactly what Big Brother wants. And tonight I'm going to read a couple passages from 1984. I also want to finish my presentation from Canada. And so we'll get to know what that's all about. And that will be going on tonight, so we'll have that. Also, we'll check the phones. I have not done that in a little while. We do have some callers. Let's check them out. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. You've been on hold for a while. Sorry about that. What's up? Alrighty then. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there? Let's try the other line. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from?
Hey, Jeran. Brandon from Michigan.
What's up, Brandon?
Hey, what's going on? So, sorry if I sound like I'm on a potato. I am, but I apologize for that.
It's all right. The potato seems pretty. I don't know. Seems pretty smooth.
No, it's a pretty ripe potato. But my brother says he told me the other day about Alex Jones that he'll listen to him, but when he starts feeling like he needs to buy some vitamins, then he shuts it off.
Right.
That's pretty good advice.
If you feel the need for male vitality, XXX74 or something, it's probably time.
Yeah, because it does start sounding pretty good. So I see where he's coming from.
You're like, yeah, I do wake up tired.
Yes, for sure. I definitely wake up tired. To be honest, I don't care what he says about Sandy Hook. Our government's run by psychopaths, sociopaths, and with endlessly deep pockets. So I don't put anything past them.
Right.
There shouldn't be anything that's off limits to talk about or conjecture about or investigate. I think that's the nature of science, and we all seem to be kind of moving more towards scientific mindset these days, which is fantastic. I don't know where we're going, but interesting.
I think you said that. You said
but
that.
I
Well.
really called you to. No, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to commend you and Missa for your honesty and transparency. It's something that's sorely missing from our society, and I think you're setting a great example for how we should behave amongst mature adults, to be honest.
Well, thank you.
We've always had kind of a closed-off society. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. It's like we don't recognize that we all have flaws, and I think that I don't remember who said it to me, but one time somebody said, if you really look at yourself deep down inside, how much do you lie throughout the day about yourself? And it gets kind of scary when you really get down and think about it. And that's something I've tried to get rid of and to be okay with who I am and my quirks and my my fallibleness, or none of us are perfect. And so when we do make mistakes, I think that, which is part of this life, and I think it's what this life is here for, that you have to be able to learn from them. And I think that as a group, we could help each other learn from our mistakes. I don't think enough people speak out about their drug problems or their alcohol issues or their marital issues. And so we all are in this world thinking that everybody else is like operating on a perfect level, and that their marriage is perfect, and that their kids are great, and that their wife and them have sex every night, and that they, this is the kind of thing that TV and movies might, portray. And really, that's not the case. And so I think that anytime anybody can speak out about what happened to them, and then maybe possibly something, my only hope would be that something that happened to me like this, maybe there's a chance that I help another marriage in this crumbling one, because maybe that that'll help somebody. Maybe somebody thought that their thing was pretty cool, and they just assumed that, and they never thought about the fact of, wait, when I did court my wife or whatever, I did do a lot of these things I don't do anymore, and maybe that will remind them, hey, it doesn't hurt to throw it back out there every once in a while, and maybe it's something you missed too and just don't realize it. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I also wanted to just say, you showed a lot of courage by following through on your commitment to go to Edmonton and speak. And I know you weren't, thrilled with your speech, but I thought it was fantastic given the circumstances. So I just wanted to say that I thought that was pretty admirable.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that too.
Now, yeah, no problem, Jeran. I'm complimenting you a lot, but rough time, and I think you're doing a fantastic job. But now, I did want to say that your comment about the crowbar has me a little worried, and I think you were joking, but you know.
Well,
I just wanted to, I don't want you to do something stupid, and I wanted to remind you that they're not going to send you to one of those nice prisons with the golf courses on them.
No, I don't get one of those. I don't get one of the fancy prisons. No, again,
I don't think so.
I would never make a threat. I have no ill intent on hurting anybody. However, as I told my friend when he tried to talk to me, I just said I would stay away. And that's just, I guess, it's that same thing we talked about last week when I said, your buddy who drinks a 6-pack of beer before he goes on a joyride of 30 minutes every single night. You can make the prediction that the guy will eventually be in a car crash, and it's not really a prediction as much as it is like an inevitableness. So I kind of feel this. I just don't think it'd be smart for him to come around me, and I think he understands that and won't. So I mean, from that, I don't foresee any issues, but it's tough. Those are the two people in my life that I would have expected, and both of them have explained it away in a weird way that I don't know if it should bother me as much as it does, but they describe it as they were able to set me out of it, as if, and they both described this kind of separately, that they were able to almost act as if I would never find out, or I would never know, or it would never hurt me, and kind of remove me from the situation. I don't know, which is part of the problem in my mind. I'm like, well, how did you do that? I mean, I could have never been over here doing this thing thinking, okay, well, I'm going to put Missa out of it, because just that thought alone is thinking about Missa. Oh, I'm going to put her over here. No. So, I mean, it's just kind of hard. And I think that people know I would not do something that's going to end me in prison. I would like to stay out of there.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something just in case you actually were thinking about doing something like that. But I wouldn't think you would. But I just wanted to say it just in case no one else had. But we don't want to see anything bad happen to you. But that's all I had to say, Jeran. Peace out and keep doing what you're doing. And we love your work. And hopefully brighter roads are ahead, brother.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate the call. That is awesome. Thank you very much. And yeah, if anybody wondered what I mean by I didn't like my particular speech, the problem is I've never done a speech before, and so far I have done quite a bad job. The one in North Carolina was an issue for me because I had a kind of a video-like a presentation, and then I was talking with Iru and saw what he was going to do, and I just said, I should do something more than from the heart, and I can always talk forever. I'll just get up there and kind of wing it, and that did not work. And then this year I said, okay, let me do this PowerPoint presentation, and I had a nice presentation planned, but I didn't get to half of it. So I guess this whole idea of speaking under a certain, when I make a video, it doesn't matter how long it is. I can talk and talk and talk, and if it goes longer, well, there is no set time. So whether the video is 8 minutes or 15 or an hour and a half, it just is what it is. So this particular year, I was told that I had 45 minutes, and so I kind of scheduled something I thought would take me 45 minutes to talk about, and then before I went up there, I was told that we were behind schedule, and I had 40 minutes. And as I was up there, I should have realized that I was going on and on about things that I had not had ready. They were just reminding me of other things, and I was kind of going off my script, and then I would come back and be lost of where I was, and I was like, oh shit, I shouldn't keep going off script because now I can't follow where I am. And so before you know it, I look up and it's like 6 minutes left. I'm like, holy smokes. So it was not the best thing, and hopefully I'm going to get better. I have a plan for Denver in 3 months. You can head over there if you want to FE 2018. Get your tickets now to come say hello in Denver, Colorado. And I have a plan for that, and we'll kind of treat it more like a video than a speech. So I think that'll help me. And yep, that's what I mean by so far I just have not gotten it right, and I've never claimed to be a public speaker in any way. So it is all new to me. Met great people. A lot of people had great things to say. We had a VIP dinner where each speaker had to sit at a separate table. And I was with a great table of people. Lots of cool topics discussed, including history and everything from, Bank of America and their inception and how they were Bank of Italy and what happened with that, and Titanic. And we just went on and on and on. So it was a great time with like-minded people. Everybody I met in the parking lot, everybody who came up after my presentation or after the panel show. If you heard that, that was a hilarious moment. Right as the panel show started, we had the funniest little bell that went ding, ding. Nobody could figure out what the hell it was. And Mark Sargent was sitting to my right. And I said to him, "That's a fire alarm." And he says, "If that's a fire alarm, it's the worst fire alarm in the history of fire alarms." And we chuckled. And sure enough, found out that it was a fire alarm. And then we kind of laughed at that. And then this bell continued to go off. And you can check this out if you go to Flat Earth Flat Earth International Conference, International Flat Earth Conference, one of those channels. And you can find, I think that was day 2, part 2. But it was just kind of funny because a bell kept going off, and then it just kept going like every 3-4 minutes. A fire alarm would go off. Nobody could figure out what was going on. Come to find out, because the smoke was so heavy in Edmonton, that everybody who was on that, what would that be, I guess, the west side of the building, who had their windows open, well, the wind was blowing and all the smoke was going into the hotel rooms, setting off each individual smoke alarm separately. So this was the issue, is that it was basically a constant, alarm trip. And so they kept coming on the loudspeaker saying, "Stay where you are. The firefighters are trying to," So it basically lasted the entire hour and a half for that panel show, if I remember right. It might have been done maybe 10 minutes earlier than that. Anyway, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like Beyond the Veil with Chris and Cherie Geo, X Squared with Brooks Agnew, Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas, Jeranism Raw with Jeran and Missa, Fearless with Frank Castle, Strange World with Mark Sargent, The Eye of Ra with Ra Castaldo, The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray, Ironworks with Josh Corey, The Kev Baker Show, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll free at 833-TFR Live. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
The Manafort trial, firing back. I'm Ann Cates. The prosecution has rested its case in the bank and tax fraud trial of former Trump campaign official Paul Manafort. Correspondent Kara Scannell reports the defense now takes over.
The judge told the defense to be ready tomorrow to state what kind of case they're going to bring on. He also said if Paul Manafort decides not to testify, he will ask him in court to say that on the record so it's clear that Manafort is making this decision on his own. But the defense has not said what they plan to do yet. They'll have to do that tomorrow.
One-time White House aide Omarosa, who is releasing a tell-all book tomorrow, is being criticized by the president.
At the end of a series of tweets denigrating his one-time apprentice star, President Trump writes, "Wacky Omarosa already has a fully signed non-disclosure agreement." Ahead of her book release, she did disclose on NBC's Today a recording she says was made a day after her firing with the president on the phone.
So what's going on? I just saw on the news that you're thinking about leaving. What happened?
General Kelly came to me and said that you guys wanted me to leave.
No, nobody even told me about it. Nobody,
Wow.
they run a big operation, but I didn't know it.
Omarosa said she believes the president did know ahead of time about her firing, but wanted to stay in her good graces, perhaps just in case she wanted to write a book. Bob Costantini, Washington.
Firefighters are getting a handle on massive wildfires in California.
The largest fire in state history, the Mendocino complex, is made up of the ranch and river fires in the northern part of the state. It's charred more than 336,000 acres and is close to being contained. And the Carr Fire, the second largest in California history, is above 60% contained after burning for 3 weeks and claiming the lives of 8 people. In Corona, California, I'm Natasha Chen.
Losses today on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 125 points. The S&P 500 dropped 11. The Nasdaq off 19. I'm Ann Cates.
You're now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Walk like us. They even talk like us. Walk like us. But they are not like us. On the weekday, you can see the signs, you can see the signs. They wear the disguise. Look into the mind's eye. There's nowhere to hide. Cross the covered lines. Whispers from afar.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. You are listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw, and that's going to be hard to get used to. Thank you for joining me, not us. It is I, Solo. Welcome back to the show. So before the break, I was talking about Alex Jones, and just to kind of complete that, the whole narrative or the whole idea that this is hate speech and it's all because of what he said about Sandy Hook. You need to be able to listen to whatever it is that you're watching or listening to and decide for yourself if the person is presenting compelling evidence. And then you need to go follow up on that evidence. And why am I hearing this awful sound in a nightmare? And it's up, dawn. Woo! Thank you for whoever did that. It just gets to the point where we need to trust each other. You have to remember that nobody would be on YouTube making videos if they're not having people watch them. And so that's how I think people should be responsible for themselves. If you hear somebody talking or making videos and they're making constant mistakes and their facts never add up and their sources never check out, then delete them, block them, stop watching them. And that's how we control things ourselves. I mean, if Alex Jones is saying things that nobody else is seeing, then he will quickly have no audience and will have no reason to keep saying what he's saying. People should understand that if there are people saying that something or another is a hoax or is a fraud or is a false flag, then you should check into it and look into it yourself, because you should know, and I hope you do understand, that the mainstream media has told many lies and is presenting a narrative that is paid for by big companies who own them. And that should be quite obvious. And so once you realize that, then you want to see that there's alternative voices. And again, you will judge whether or not you watch them based on what kind of facts they present. There are so many YouTube personalities or channels that I no longer watch at all. They have been blocked. They have been deleted from my subscriptions. I don't even know that they put out videos. And that's because they have convinced me that they are not good researchers, or that by watching them I'm going to end up possibly buying into something that they're saying and nothing's checking out. So I just get rid of them completely. Now there's others that I have found a few mistakes here and there. And those people I'm just a little bit more weary of when I watch. If they say something, I follow up. I do my own research on it. But really, that's what the great thing about being human is listening to other people's point of views and being able to shape your beliefs around what you hear and people's opinion. Just like it's great that I know what Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye's opinion is. It's fantastic because it helps me build my own. And when I hear them say why they believe what they believe, and I go looking for the evidence that they say is there, and I don't find it, then it's my prerogative, my right to choose not to believe it. So, like I said in Canada, I choose not to believe in the globe because I have not been presented with the evidence that anyway tells me that it's time to go away from my senses and adopt what men tell me is true. I ask you to do something tonight. If you would be so kind, try this. I think you will be, maybe it'll really catch you off guard, or really, I don't know. Yesterday was just something that made me go, wow. I was out front last night and just looking at the stars. And I saw Mars, and if people don't know, they say Mars is at its closest right now since 2003 or something, and it's pretty bright. That thing is a bright red in the sky. It was right above my house. I was looking at it, and close but behind it, I would say maybe 15 degrees from it, somewhere around there, 20 degrees from it, is a star. I don't know what star. Let's call it Star Bourgeon. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And then it kind of hit me. I'm looking back and forth between the star and Mars, and I realize, oh my goodness, that star, or we'll call it Mars, that planet Mars, is, according to them, I think 50 million miles away, whatever. Astronomical, ridiculous number. But let's say it's 50 million miles. Then I look at this star that's slightly to the right of it, maybe a couple fists full, 4 fists if you moved your fist to the right. And to think that star to the right of Mars is probably, this is going to be a guess, 100 trillion miles from Mars is a frickin' joke. Go out tonight and think of what you've been taught about the heliocentric system. And this is the difference between, again, myself and other flat earthers versus globe earthers. When I'm telling you, take everything in that you can about space. Go watch every documentary, every hour-long filled CGI, just packed full of CGI everywhere you can possibly see. Go watch all that stuff, because it is what will tell you once you're on to the hoax, that it's a hoax, that there is no pictures, that there are no proofs. This is a story that has been told for who knows how long, that has convinced the world that this place that we live is a spinning rock in endless space, floating because it's falling 66,000 miles per hour around a sun 1 million times bigger than the place that we live. This burning H-bomb is sending its solar waves and its all this radiation at us, and it's all, once you take it all in, go out tonight, please, look at the stars. Take 5 minutes of your life and go out and just stare at the sky, but stare at it from the perspective of a heliocentric believer. Forget everything you've heard about flat Earth and just go out there and say, all right, what do we have here according to what I've been taught? And then realize that all the stars in the sky are suns. And around each of those is little planetary systems of little tiny planets in orbit of their parent star. And that these things are a minimum of 25 trillion miles away. And after you've been out there for a minute, you'll be laughing. And after you're out there from 5, you'll be a flat earther. Because it's just not true. It's just not true. There is no evidence of it. And that's the problem. Is that they taught us when we were too young to ask for where's the evidence. They told us how scientific it was, so we didn't ask where's the evidence. Think of this. You have 0% chance, well, you did until this all started, but let's say 5 years ago, you had a 0% chance of coming out of 4th grade not believing wholeheartedly 100% in the globe Earth. What else in life is there like that? What else have they forced down your throat to the point where you have a 0% chance of not believing in it? You know, there's nothing. I mean, you might believe in Jesus, you might not. You might believe in aliens, you might not. There's lots of things that I don't know. You might believe in love, you might not. There's a lot. Might believe in Bigfoot, maybe not. But what else do you come out of fourth grade and you believe with 100% conviction, and there's no chance that you don't? And that is the globe Earth. And they force it down your throat. Anybody who's been looking into this for any amount of time has started to see where it's everywhere. Global this, global that. Every commercial, every Happy Meal, Happy Meal, and get this spaceship, and get this little take-home planet, and you get a little toy Elon Musk that calls people pedophiles, and you can do that if you want. You don't have to do that. You can play with them however you want. These things are all just ingrained from the very beginning. Every movie opening, in every single movie that they've put out in the last 50 years, it seems like there is a shot of the Earth as a globe. Be it some Avengers movie, or if it's Captain America, or Superman, whatever it is, there's a globe, and there's something showing you where you live. But that's not evidence, and that's not proof, because those things are part of movie making, and nobody's ever claimed that any of those shots are real. And so when you realize that, you need to ask yourself the question, well, how is something so scientific and so matter of fact not proven itself every day in our lives? For me, I don't even, the questions are gone. I mean, there's nothing that tells me I live on a spinning ball in outer space, and that Mars that I'm looking at is 50 million miles away, and it's kind of, it's a little smaller than Earth, and it's got its own orbits, and for me, there's just nothing that tells me that. Yeah, can I find telescope images and telescope time lapses that might look like Mars is spinning and that it's got ice on its caps? And sure, you can find that all you want. But do you dare put it past you that somebody could be faking you? And you need to be able to ask those questions. It is the right thing to be skeptical. It is the correct thought process to ask things to be proven to you. It is not correct to go with the flow. Well, everybody believes it. Well, that's what I was taught. That's the worst thing you can do. Anytime it is the crutch of intelligence. It is the knife in the spokes of creativity, is to settle on beliefs because someone told you. If the stars are 25 trillion miles away, my life only needs to know that if it reveals itself to me. And it's fine if somebody else discovers it and they want to come tell me, well, Jeran, I actually discovered those, or let me see. Well, show me how. So look into, how do we know the distance to the stars? How do we know the distance to the moon, to the sun? People keep trying to email me with all these different things because they're very taken aback. They're very scared. They're very frightened by the fact that I'm questioning their beliefs. And they keep telling me, Jeran, dude, you're such an idiot. You can totally measure the distance to the sun or the moon. Like, okay, how? One guy told me in a Skype conversation, it's like, dude, you just need to do triangulation and angles. I said, okay, so show me what you mean. Then he kind of drew this little diagram and said, I don't want to tell you the rest because really you just need to go back to high school trigonometry. I said, okay, that was real classic because you still don't even understand what you're talking about. I said the sun and the moon are the same size in the sky. So how do we triangulate them to have them come out at vastly different distances? Well, he says, well, you have to use parallax. I said, okay, let's use parallax. That's taking the stars that are behind it and using that change in their position between two positions on Earth to estimate the distance. But you need to know the distance of the items behind it. So again, you have taken what men have told you and you've tucked it into your believies, and you have said, I believe this because men say so, and you have forgotten to follow the path that allowed them to get there and realize it's all guesswork. It's all guesses. Yeah. If you believe they went to the moon, and I've said this before, if they went to the moon, then I believe the whole thing. Then I believe everything else. Because if they know the distance to the moon, then it's from there I can, well, if you knew the distance to the moon, then you probably knew the distance to the stars, you probably know the distance to the other planets. Fine. But I don't believe that based on everything that I've seen and based on the fact that I know how technology moves forward. I know how things change. I know how we get better, how we get cheaper, how we get faster, how we get more efficient, how we get safer. So when you tell me that men flew to the moon in 1969 and through 1972, and they didn't have anything go wrong, nobody got hurt, we just flew to the moon. We took a rocket, packed people inside of it, shot it up in the sky, had it orbit the Earth, went off to the moon, landed it there. The people got out, played around, jumped around, talked to the president via phone call, got back inside the same rocket. Well, not the same rocket, a separate rocket that landed its rocketness on the moon. Got back in that rocket, retook off again in an engine that had never been tested and was on a foreign body that cannot be duplicated on Earth. Another thing, don't let people tell you that we are testing things in gravity or in vacuum chambers, because a vacuum chamber is not space. Okay, space has no walls. Space has no ceiling. Space has no floor. Find me the vacuum chamber that has no walls, no ceiling, and no floor, and then tell me we're testing things in that. Otherwise, you're just testing things and hoping that it's correct. But anyway, these men got back in this rocket, took off, reconnected with an orbiting rocket, came back to Earth and dunked in the ocean. Fantastic. If that happened in 1972, and you believe we are where we are today, 50 years later, and we can't take people further than 250 miles from the Earth, something's wrong with you. You are so far entrenched and buried in the propaganda of mainstream science and mainstream media that you can't see the writing on the wall. And that's all I can say is that and I know there's a lot of people that listen to this show that do believe in NASA and do believe in the moon landings and do believe in the globe Earth. And my hope for you is simply that you've taken the time to consider what it means, to consider giving your beliefs away to somebody else when you get one chance here. This is it. This is your shot. And are you going to die believing in things because someone else told you? Again, I'll say it a million times over. I would rather be wrong about everything, but have come to those conclusions myself, than to be right about everything and have been told everything that's true. And it's not the correct way we should raise children. It's not the correct way we should teach school. You want minds that are thinking outside the box, not that are narrowed to thinking the same thing. You want people to be creative, to think about possibilities. How else can we run automobiles? Could we use seawater? What if we use air? What about compressed air? You want all these things to be in the minds of all children, because who knows who the next Leonardo da Vinci is? Who knows who the next Walter, I can't think of his name now, but who's the next polymath? That's the problem, is that we're not providing an environment where those things will happen anymore. And we need to recognize that that's how societies grow. That if everyone just got together and taught all the children that we ride on wagon wheels and that's all there'll ever be, wagon wheels, and this is the way it goes, then nobody would have thought about an automobile. And if you don't know that, pre-1900 or right around then, the scientific belief was that it was impossible for heavier than aircraft to fly. I just got back from Canada. I will tell you it's very possible that heavier than aircrafts fly. And it's amazing. It's almost unreal. We stand back in awe, or else we just don't really realize what's going on. What is the weight of that airplane filled with people flying in the sky, when 100 years ago or 125 years ago, scientific belief was that it was impossible. And now it's the safest mode of transportation. Now there's thousands of flights taking off and landing every day. So you have to be able to allow people to think outside the box, and at some point, and I am guessing this is in the last really 500 or 100 years probably, we have gotten to a point where men who have dictated to us what their beliefs are have put a pretty effective block in any of those beliefs changing, because they don't allow anybody to think outside of that box. And so when people are out there doing great work in things like the electric universe model, those things by mainstream science are not just said to be, those guys are looking into that. It's considered to be pseudoscience. It's considered to be nonsense. Anybody looking into that is a fool, because we already know the universe is set up the exact way that we said, even though nothing works. I mean, come on, even gravity. The next time somebody tells me gravity is real, think about what gravity says. It's pulling things down to the center. Okay, then why is the air outside? If I went outside and tested the air right outside my house, I'm going to find a certain percentage of oxygen and a certain percentage of nitrogen and a certain percentage of argon. And those three gases are different weights, different masses, different densities. So then you have to say, well, wait a second. If gravity is true, shouldn't the ground be all argon and then oxygen and then nitrogen? Shouldn't they be layered as their weight dictates? Why are we finding the equal amounts or the equal percentages pretty much everywhere in the lower atmosphere? Why is it that ozone, which is the heavier of those three, I think, or the heaviest of, heavier than those three, is at the very top? So gravity just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Things like mercury, do a good job of disproving it when you see people dunking 200-pound anvils or anchors in little bathtubs of mercury, and the anchor floats. There's just so many problems with what we've been taught, and it's so sad because people don't see it, because they have been told, they have been taught at such an age that it becomes part of their belief systems, and we all know what happens when our belief systems are questioned. And the problem is whether or not you're afraid or nervous about what you believe, because then you will fight back. For me, I don't need to fight back when somebody says that the Earth's a globe. Fantastic. You can believe that if you want. But I certainly don't understand why people fight me for my belief, except for I know that it's because I'm saying something different than what their preconceived, foundational, deeply held belief entails, which is the problem for them, is they don't want to hear anybody question it because it scares them to death. Because it's, might be scary for some to look up at the stars and say, I don't know what's going on. What are they? What are they doing? Why are they here? Why am I here? But that doesn't scare me. What scares me is looking up and saying, oh, okay, those are suns, and okay, they're this far away, and that the planets are rotating, and I'm spinning, and I don't feel any of it. But hey, men told me. Who am I to question it? That becomes the problem. So when we get back from the break, we will continue on. I will go through my little presentation. I will check the phones. I do see that we do have 2 callers. Well, the other caller, I'm not sure if they'll ever pick up, but don't go anywhere. And I was going to try and play something here, but I don't trust it because I keep dropping the whatever you want to call it. I keep dropping the call when I try and play a sound effect. I wonder if the same thing will happen if I try and play a musical interlude here. I was going to lead us out with the song by Spiritual North. Please check him out. He's on YouTube. You can subscribe to his channel. It's the song that was located in the video I uploaded last night, which was simply a contest to see who made the dumbest quote of all time, even though we all know that answer. There is no dumber quote. And you can call in if you've got a dumber one. I've heard some very close, but nobody can beat this one. And that quote is, "You can tell it's real because it looks so fake," by Mr. Elon Musk. Come up with somebody would have to say something like, that her hair is so long because it looks so short. Or, this guy's so fat because he looks so skinny. Or, wow, that building is certainly tall because it looks so short. Well, nobody in their right mind would say anything so ludicrous. Man, you can tell how hot it is because it looks so cold. Nope. Sorry. Nobody says completely ridiculous nonsense statements like that because they don't go together. So when somebody says you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, it's time we call them out as the person who owns the record for the dumbest quote in the history of the world. Unless somebody can come up with a better one. I did hear one that I thought was close. Somebody reminded me of Lawrence Krauss telling me that we live in the worst possible universe for sustaining life. And I said, oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But hold on a second. Remember the universe that he thinks we live in. Well, I look at that too and say, wait a second, you're right. We do live in the worst possible universe for sustaining life because the universe that you have built, that you believe in, is nonsense. It's total, complete crap. No, with people living on spheres upside down, but there is no up or down in space. There's only, we all pull to the center, but not really the center of the other planets. We kind of do those, but we're falling around the sun and everything's held together, but then we fire back around the other way and it's an elliptical orbit. Phew, nonsense. That is true then. We do live in the universe that is the worst designed for life, and so I will agree, and that is no longer even in contention. There has been other ones that are equally iffy, but none can stand in the light of the absolute glory that is Elon Musk's statement of you can tell it's real because it looks so fake. Think of all the fake images you've ever seen in your life, and now realize that you can tell that they're real because they look so fake. That's what you need to do, and then you'll understand that that deserves a trophy. It deserves accolades, possibly a statue. So really, that's the reason I made that video. But the song, and I'll play right when we get back, and then we'll get to the phone calls. I see you guys lining up. The song is called Stage Set by Spiritual North. I think it is a very good song, and it fit perfectly with my calling out of Elon Musk, or I did make it like a vote because I am, I don't want to be the one to say, hey, this is the dumbest quotation of all time, unless people have a chance to vote and submit their own, but I can't imagine. So if you've got one, please call in. It doesn't matter if you've got the, it's Photoshop, because it has to be. That's another great one. But I've seen lots, so many from Bill Nye. One that he told about some duck or something. Maybe I can get that one before the break. It was pretty good. The one that he said about the duck. Yeah, let's go to that one. That one's classic. He said a horse-sized duck would probably collapse on itself, and a duck-sized horse would freeze to death because of its size. So that was pretty good too. But nothing close to you can tell it's real because it looks so fake. We'll be right back. We're going to break, and you can tell because I'm still talking. See you in 2 minutes. Jeranism Monday Night Raw.
This is Elizabeth McCabe, aka Lucky One of Truth Frequency News. I wanted to tell you all about Extendivite from HeartDrop.com. Y'all know I check everything before I air it. When I heard about Extendivite on TFR, I went to HeartDrop.com and started my research. It's got cayenne. That's good for blood and circulation. It stimulates the blood flow. It's got garlic, which fights bacteria like antibiotics, and it lowers the cholesterol and blood pressure. It also has milk thistle, which is the best detox for liver. I couldn't wait to try it out, and I'm glad I did 4 months ago, and here's the obvious results. My hands and feet don't get cold anymore. The varicose veins have faded too. My wrists don't hurt after typing all day. Now I tell you all this because it's true and I want you to really live life. Try Extendivite. Go to HeartDrop.com and order it.
Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid. Call now. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit HeartDrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy. Bugs. I hate bugs. Our home is clean, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. The ingredients in Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list, so Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com and Ace Hardware.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
One night, a man had a dream he was walking along the beach, listening to Jeran and Missa on Monday Night Raw.
Across the flat horizon flashed scenes from his past, and he realized life wasn't what he was taught.
For each scene, he noticed two sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to him and the other to Jeranism.
When the last scene of his life flashed before him, he looked back in the sand and noticed many times along his path there was only one set of footprints. He realized they happened at the lowest times of his life, and so he questioned Jeranism about it.
Guys, you said if I listened to your show, you'd be with me all the way. But in my times of need, there was only one set of footprints. I don't understand why when I needed you both the most, you would leave me.
My dear child, we love you and would never leave you.
When you see one set of prints, that's because it wasn't on a Monday.
Need a friendly voice? Call Grandma.
But if you need truth at all costs, then join us for a threesome.
Ooh.
Mondays 7 to 10 p.m. Pacific, only on truthfrequencyradio.com.
Real people, real radio.
Initiating the truth frequency.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome back. You're listening to Jeranism on that Raw. Why did I just almost explode my eardrums? That was weird. All right. I'm here. My eardrums are settling in. Everything's fine now, I think. That was extremely loud. Hopefully I'm still on the air. I don't know. You never know. But real quick, let's listen to that song, Stage Set, by Spiritual North. Please check out his channel. I think he's got some great work done and not enough love. So check it out. We'll listen to that, and then we'll get to the phone calls. So get your questions ready. And here we go, Stage Set by Spiritual North.
Yeah. What? What? Spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX, spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX. Understand, I don't understand shit. All I overstand is the place I'm standing. What I cannot stand is the plans they planning. Cause they just rockets, man, they ain't even landing. Spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX, spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX. Yeah, it's just a roadster up in outer space. It's so real, you can tell it's real cause it's fake. Know the deal that they privatize in the parade. My brand is North, when we chat, you can call me Frank. Spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX, spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX. Taxi ISS is like an Uber to the moon. Flashback 69, tricky dickies on the phone. The Shining was the secret yacht that only Kubrick knew. Now it's Ready Player One and 237 is the room. Spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX, spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX. What up? Good morning, dog, how you feel? You just woke up from a world, huh, that wasn't real. You woke as fuck, now you opened up to what you feel. So never duck when you're rolling up on your next meal. Spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX, spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX. Understand, I don't understand shit. All I overstand is the place I'm standing. What I cannot stand is the plans they planning. Cause they just rockets, man, they ain't even landing. Spaceship, fake ship, stage set, SpaceX. Spaceship, fake shit, stage set, SpaceX.
So, cool song if you are into the R&B, hip-hop, and rap genre. If not, you probably turned off the show and are not hearing this now. So you're missing out because I'm really cool and really good at radio. No, just kidding. Anyway, let's move on. I did want to get back to real quick my little story about if you believe that in 1972 that we sent these people, or from 69 to 72, they went, landed, took off, landed, water dunk, whatever. And that today we are celebrating Elon Musk putting a car in space, and it didn't even go wherever he wanted it to go. But there's no human beings in it. And everyone cheers like crazy at the amazingness of him sending a rocket up 50 miles and it coming back down and landing. Oh, what? He's landing rockets. Wow. 1969, we landed rockets on the friggin' moon. 237,000 miles, if you understand the reference to room 237, and the boy wearing the Apollo 11 shirt, Stanley Kubrick, trying to tell you the truth about the moon landings. And when you recognize the truth, then you realize why it is that people are going crazy, that Elon Musk is landing rockets, because it's pretty freaking incredible. That's if you understand that we did not take rockets 237,000 miles away, land them, get out, play golf, set little experiments up, and then fly back and land in the water. Because that means that we sent rockets up, they landed on a foreign body with people inside them. The people got out and then got right back in. When Elon Musk's little rockets land, it takes a month or two after that to get them ready to fly again. But not in 1969. We just turn off the ignition and then turn it back on when we want to leave. And we just blast up in 1/6 gravity. And then they say, pitch over. And then you see the thing tip on its side. And we forget that they weren't in actual seats. Therefore, when you say pitch over and you've just left the moon, you fall and tumble on top of each other because you're not floating around as people believe. It's all made for TV entertainment, courtesy of Hollywood, to get you to believe in the idea of the globe Earth. It's pretty simple to me, and until somebody proves to me in some other way that we live on a ball Earth, then I'm not going to believe it. It has not earned the right to be in my belief system. Many things have. That's not one of them. So if globe believers or globe pushers or the scientific community would like me to believe in the globe Earth, then they better bring the kind of evidence that is expected. And things like a 24-hour camera in Antarctica would have been great before I started saying that there was no such cameras. Lots of reasons that I think that it would be best if they provided real evidence, like evidence of curvature. And by that, I don't mean telling me that boats are going over the edge, because just because I see boats disappearing bottom up does not mean that people live upside down underneath me. Sorry, those of you in Australia, those of you in the southern hemisphere, you are currently not upside down underneath me. Whether you think you're right side up and I'm upside down or whatever that is, that's called metaphysical. It's called a belief. It's called a hopes and dreams of many scientists, but it's not reality. And until I'm shown that it is, you can't just tell me, well, things pull to the center, Jeran. Oh, do they? Okay, cool. Can I see some evidence of that? Evidence of the things pulling to the center? Evidence. Anybody? Interesting. Let's go to the phones. We've got quite a few calls lined up, or we did. Some people hung up, I see. First person, I believe, is in Pennsylvania. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from?
Hey, what's up, Jeran? It's Billy.
Billy, what's going on?
How you doing, brother?
Good. Yourself? Do you know any Campanellas out there?
Dude, actually, yeah, I coached T-ball with a Campanella.
Yeah, my family's from there, so.
No kidding. How about anywhere in Delaware County, Aston?
I don't know any of them. I know that my grandfather moved here from York, I think, but so I don't know what happened after that. He had a kind of strained relationship with his family from that point on. So, but I just know that that's where he's from. So anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's also a couple. I'm in the Carpenters Union, and there's some Campanellas in the Carpenters Union too.
Good people.
I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I wanted to touch on a couple things, and
sure.
I wanted to hear what your thoughts are on them. But first, I got to do this before I forget. You know that commercial on Truth Frequency Radio with the Shebo virus?
Yeah.
With the little girl talking. How do I get that, dude? That thing is hilarious, man. That really cracks me up.
I can get it for you.
No kidding. I looked all over the place. I'm like, man, I can never find this commercial.
I actually have an in with the owner of the station, believe it or not. I'll ask. Tell you what, look for it on my website in the coming days. I will get it from Chris. I'm writing myself a note now, and I will post it as a blog post on my website, so you pick it up from there.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, it would be cool if you could tweet it too. That would be awesome.
Okay, yeah, cool. I'll see it.
Anyway. That's
I like
a great
it too.
commercial. It hits the funny bone, man. All right. The other thing, you know what really pisses me off? I'm sure it pisses you off too. Is that we got to go into all these other proofs, and there's just tons of scientific proof that we're not on the ball. But like the mountains of Canada and all these things, just Lakeshore, Michigan, like right there. It's like we shouldn't go any further. You know, if we can't get past that, I mean, it's just like right in your face, you know, proof. And that just really pisses me off. You know?
Yeah, it's kind of sad. And my whole thing is I wish I could have been, sometimes you wish you were in another predicament. I wish I would have heard other people telling me that the earth was flat, and that I could have come from the position of denying it, and then being shown something like that and still denying it, because I can't picture it. So I'm wondering how people do it, because the alternative is to say, oh no, those mountains are being lifted by the sun. It gets to be too crazy. You're like, no, I can't believe that. I understand it's a mirage, but I know what a mirage looks like, and that's not a mirage. That's actual mountains. And then you start to understand that we simply can't see that far, that light doesn't show from that far, but the only reason we can see Canigao at those particular days of the year is because the sun gets behind it and we see the silhouette. We see it's not light that's hitting us, it's the light behind the mountains that we're actually seeing, which allows for that black silhouette. So we're, it's like it's evident, it's right there in front of you. And yeah, you're absolutely right. When people just will deny it, to me, it's just it's a fear of letting go of what they believe they know. They don't want to go to the land where I live, which is mostly filled with I don't knows.
Yeah, it is. I know the program is super deep, because once they're hit with that, they're like, there's 9 million other things that say, no way. Which brings me to my next point. That corny thing George Bush had, and he screwed it all up. He's like, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me can't, fool me no more, whatever he said. But, back in the 1500s when with this Copernican bullshit, supposedly started, I heard there was a survey in the 1900s where most of the population in the U.S. didn't believe it was a ball then. But nevertheless, 500 years ago, the world is told it's a ball. Look, folks, we were wrong. It's actually a ball. And so there was no blowback, because it was like, we were wrong. Here, now here it is. It's all over the news, and then so whatever. Amazing fact, the world's a ball, whatever. But now you don't get that. You don't get that this time, because there is no. Oh my gosh! You know what? The world's actually flat. There's no way that you can get away. There's so much intent, and there's so much deception, on purpose deception, where it's like you're not going to get it's not going to be like the first time. There's going to be blowback. It's because you're lying, and you went to great lengths to lie. So now it's like,
can you picture it ever coming out though? I mean, this is what kind of frightens me, is that when you think of every movie I just talked about, and I mean, when I say every movie, I mean, go back and watch any movie and pretty much they all show some sort of scene where it's from the globe looking in or the globe spinning or whatever. Like all those movies would be laughing stocks down the road. Like I just sometimes I look at it and I'm like, it's too much. They put too much out there now that like it's the whole idea of what you believe is true. Like they must feel that. They just think that if the whole world believes it's a ball, then that ball is true, and whether it is or isn't, which is so scary because it's like, man, can we change this, or do too many people love the lie?
Yeah, I mean, that's what pisses me the most off. It's like, I didn't care if it was a ball or flat, but I want to know where the hell I live, you know? And then when you look into it, it's like, oh, that's not a fucking ball. And then so it's like, who's behind this? You know, it's pretty damn dirty, you know, because there's nothing like us on Earth, you know? So where do we live? And why go to so, you know, everyone has that question. Why? That's like the first question. Why, you know, why? I don't know why, but, you know.
Yeah, it's the toughest question to ask because we're not the ones, you know, hiding it. So, you know, it could be a billion reasons why.
Right.
I totally see what you're saying, too. It's just I want to know where I live because it's so important, especially when you look at the two ideas. You know, one end of it saying that the Earth could be thousands of years old, that people could be thousands of years old, that and then you look at the other end, which is no, that every star that you look at tonight is so, you know, those are all suns and they're so many trillions of miles away. Then it really does call into question the idea of a creator. It really does. Because then you look at that and say, well, why would all these things have been made, you know?
That's my new argument. The way you put it is like when you do the sun and the moon and the parallax, and then you go, well, where'd you get that distance from? Well, where'd you get, we use this because this is that. Well, at some point, someone had to make up a distance so all those other distances would work.
Right. Yeah, so the whole idea of the circular argument, and that's why they basically said, well, the distance between the Earth and the sun is 1. That's how they came up with it. They think it's 1 AU. And then from there, they said, this little Venus, it appears to be this size, and it's going in front of the sun, so it must be this. And then before you know it, they just plugged in a bunch of numbers until it worked. And we know that because they at first thought the sun was 3 million miles away, and then it went to 12, and then it went to 56. And so they kept adjusting it, and now they've got their numbers all squared away. And again, as I've shown with the scaling invariance, you can change those numbers to lots of different things, and they will still work. Now, I don't think that they would work maybe as good as the ones they have now, but they still would be observationally the same from Earth, which tells you right there, anything that's a mathematical system like that, why would we believe it?
Right.
There needs to be much more proof to me of these planets. And then again, they do things that would prove it. For instance, they have a craft in orbit of the Earth, right? It's going around every 90 minutes. Fantastic. Show me a 24-hour video camera from that craft. Oh, sorry, we can't because we have to turn it off when we switch cameras and we don't have connectivity when we're over certain oceans. Bullshit. What happened to your satellites? What happened to bouncing signals? So then you're like, okay, well, what about these pictures of Saturn you've taken? Go look at Cassini. I dare anybody. Go to Cassini. Just type that into Google. Go look at these 7,000 pages of 50 images each of Saturn. And if you walk away from that saying, this is proof to me that Saturn exists, you're out of your mind.
Mm-hmm. They got caught with their pants down big time. But it's like, you know what? They're not going to. It's like, I don't know how it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. But they're blocking flat Earth content. I mean, they're going to extents now because they're caught with their pants down in every angle, every avenue you go down. Just try to find proof for the ball. The more you try to find proof for the ball, the more you find proof it's not a ball. I mean, they're caught bad. It's just that it is just now they're going to, you know, with this content blocking and all these great videos that's been put out and taken down and.
Yeah, interviews with with the Halbig guy about Sandy Hook. You put up an interview with him, and your channel will be taken down. Why? Just because he's the guy that had to set up all these safety precautions at all these schools, and he's speaking out saying, "Hey, what's going on at these schools is not at all what would happen at these if they were actual events." But you're absolutely right. I mean, it's just. And the other thing I want to mention that what you're saying too is I too don't care whether it's a ball or flat. I don't care. And I have so many people that tell me, oh, you're too far invested now in this whole flat Earth idea, and you have so many subs because of it. I'm like, listen, if tomorrow I found proof of the globe and came out with videos about how it is a globe and showing everybody why it's a globe, my channel would skyrocket. So people don't even understand of, just like people say, oh, you're doing it for, if I was doing it, then I would be a Christian. I would go out and say, I'm a Christian now, and then my channel would skyrocket. I'd get twice as many subs. So people don't understand it's not about that for me. It's just about the truth. And I wish I could find proof of the globe. I really do, because then it would be, but at this point, I'm smart enough to say that might not happen. And I should look out for deceptions because it wasn't there when I initially went looking for it. And if you've taught it to me when I'm 6 years old, then it should be. I shouldn't have to go look so damn hard to find something that's so fundamentally true. If it's fundamentally true, if the globe is fundamentally true, then it will reveal itself to everyone. You don't even need to protect yourself from flat earth content. You don't need to go out and troll channels and, make fake sock account names and, go out and demean these channels and have them shut down and call people's bosses. You wouldn't need to do that stuff. It just wouldn't have to happen.
I know. And then you get the dorks and idiots regurgitating shit they don't. I get that all the time. It's like they just want to spit stuff that they don't even know. They're just regurgitating crap. All right, real quick. Above, I think it's water. Do you think there's a physical structure separating the two? And do you think I saw this movie? It was like I think it was Kong or something like that. And he was the way to get there. They had to go through this storm system. It was in a constant, perpetual storm system, like the North Pole, for example. And then once you broke through, you were in that land. But it's in a perpetual state of storm. And I was like, what is that? Is that possibly the North Pole? And then and I was also, I'm sure you saw those old maps with the land masses that the old navigators located, or what's your thoughts on those possible land masses there up north? What do you think water's up there, and do you think there's a physical firmament or structure separating and then on the other side, do you think that's water, hence the flood, whatever, that we have proof that it was flooded?
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll answer you offline real quick, and appreciate the call so much. It was a pleasure. And let me answer those questions. So what my general take on most of those things is I don't want to adopt a model or say that I think something, because I know the damage that can be done when you think something is true and then you go out looking for evidence to support what you believe. So for me, I will admit that the sky appears to be a dome. I will admit that the atmosphere, however, being thickest at the bottom and reducing as it goes up, would also give the appearance of a dome. So it would also tell me why things appear to circle me like the sun or like the stars or moon. So to me, a dome is a possibility, absolutely. I just haven't seen the kind of evidence that would allow me to adopt it. For a while, I was getting really near it, especially when I saw rainbows and really couldn't explain a rainbow indoors. Then I saw somebody do it. Still have to do that myself because the person who did it, still have questions about the light that they used and whether or not it was in a kind of domed shaped housing. So there's, lots of things to investigate there, but I certainly don't say that there is not one. To me, the sky looks flat and looks like it bends because of the atmosphere, giving it a dome-like, view or dome-like look. And I also think it's in a lenticular shape, being that it's the highest at the equator and the lowest at the poles, which then you have to kind of picture a bundt cake pan of atmosphere above the flat Earth, which would give it very weird anomalies, which is things that we see, possible 24-hour sun in the south or 24-hour light. And as far as what you asked about the North Pole, we got to go there. Again, it would be foolish for me to say that I have any kind of evidence for anything there other than the stories from the past that certainly talk about Mount Meru and certainly have been drawn by Mercator and such. So it would be stupid to say, no, I don't believe in any of those things. It's just hard with history, the way we know it's been messed with. It becomes tough to bank on anything. Things I will bank on is, as far as I can tell, The Iron Republic is a book that was written or a story that was written in a Florida magazine from the early 1900s. It certainly appears that the physical copies have gone missing, and that all we have left are PDFs. And so whether or not the PDFs match the original, I don't know that. But the PDF version itself simply talks of a man saying that after he's done telling his story, that people will soon have to adopt the idea that the Earth is a plane, because it is not a ball, because he went down and sailed south and went through a fissure or a crack in Antarctica and came out on the other side and sailed for a few months and found another continent called the Iron Republic. And then he goes through the process of talking about all the technology that they had, which included maglev trains and cars and all these things, things that you press the button on and get the news, basically a television or a radio, things that in 1902, or actually earlier, I think that book was actually written, it came out in that magazine, but was written earlier than 1902. For all that stuff to be included in there is pretty incredible. That's somebody having an awful good foresight to be talking about things that were 50, 60, 70 years away from being invented. And so that book has very much interested me in the idea of there being other continents. Then you add that to the fact, again, this is just conjecture, but the idea of why lie about the ball Earth? Well, if it's just simply it's a disk with an ice ring that goes forever and it gets colder because we're moving away from the sun and that's all that it is, well, they could have really trapped people in that. That is kind of a self-trap, right? But the problem with that is it does kind of get rid of the whole idea of the Big Bang and everything. It would be very hard to explain the Earth in a naturalistic way as this ring in Antarctica. But if you think now outside of that and you start saying, well, there is more land there, then you just have an open plate of, okay, now it makes sense why they would lie about it. You could just take think of a butcher paper, huge butcher paper rolled out down your whole front sidewalk, and then take a little section of that and say that some tyrants wanted to trap some people in that particular circle. And all you would need to do is create a longitude-latitude system and wrap that onto a ball, and then you're going to have extra pieces of paper, and you cut those out of your GPS, and all of a sudden you've got a world that is a ball that people will travel on. And as long as you get GPS into their hands, they can only travel where GPS exists, so there's no way for them to leave. And then you look at the ideas of big oil and this constant pushing of the petroleum industry, and you realize that if there was free energy that ever came about, or a cheaper way to travel, or planes that ran on seawater, then all of a sudden people would be able to get in their plane and just fly south. We're just going. We're just checking it out. As it stands, it is a risk to your life to do so. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. We'll get to you other callers. Hold on tight. Don't go anywhere.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like The Christopher Everard Show, The Covert Report with Susan Lindauer, Enemy Within Radio with Tom Barnes, Freaky Friday with The Woo Crew, The Gematria Effect with Zachary Hubbard, America's Evil Genius with Travis Cook, Phoenix Rising Radio with Phoenix, Quantum Connections with Lucky, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll free at 833-TFR Live. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
The Manafort trial, military spending. I'm Ann Cates. The defense takes over starting tomorrow in the tax and bank fraud trial of former Trump campaign official Paul Manafort. Correspondent Kara Scannell reports prosecutors called their final witnesses this afternoon.
The government ended their case today, with the jury hearing a lot from one of those bankers who testified that he would not have recommended that the bank give the loan, but he said that it went ahead anyway because the chairman of the bank, Stephen Koch, had authorized it. And Koch, of course, the jury had heard testimony earlier in the week that he was trying to get a position in the administration.
President Trump has approved a massive defense bill today at a military base in New York.
President Trump said he was at Fort Drum to pay tribute to the greatest soldiers in the history of the world as he signed the more than $700 billion National Defense Authorization Act.
You know, I went to Congress. I said, let's do it. We got to do it. We're going to strengthen our military like never, ever before.
But he made no mention of John McCain. The Republican spearheaded efforts to get the bill through Congress. The measure was named after the senator. The president did talk about creating a space force as part of the U.S. military.
Our foreign competitors and adversaries have already begun weaponizing space.
He said the U.S. needs to catch up to and pass those adversaries. I'm Steve Kastenbaum.
The U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency is working to fill hundreds of vacancies for law enforcement officers. Correspondent Clayton Neville.
The Trump administration wants to add 5,000 Border Patrol agents on the southwest border. The agency says it offers competitive salaries and benefits. The Albuquerque Journal reports that starting salaries range from just over $33,000 for Customs and Border Protection officers to more than $41,000 for Border Patrol agents.
Wall Street started the trading week on the downside. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 125 points, the S&P down 11, the Nasdaq off 19. I'm Ann Cates.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network. We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome back. You're listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw, and thank you for joining me. I'll just finish up what I was saying real quickly. So I was saying that you can't just put this idea in people's heads that they can't travel anywhere, which is what they've basically done. Because with boats needing gas, with planes needing gas, with jet skis needing gas, these things have become difficult for anyone to travel without the fear of death or without the fear of going missing. This whole idea of the unknown. I mean, you can't just get in a plane and say, well, we don't believe the government, we're going to fly south. Because where are you going to land if you have any problems? And if you get past the southern barrier, you have no idea where you're flying. You're going to end up in the ocean most likely. Now, that's what they tell us. Again, I'm not saying those things are true, but I certainly would be fearful a little bit of my life if I was going to try such a thing. So much to the point that I probably wouldn't try it. It's very tough to carry petroleum on your boat. You're not even allowed to south of 60 degrees. So it has been blocked for you to even attempt such a journey. And that's why I speak out like I do, because we need governments in other countries, or we need investors who are willing to put together some sort of expedition to where there is help, or there is a supply boat that comes after 15 days or whatever it takes to actually investigate where we live. And then I think that we will find the truth. But think about this whole idea of the trip with Christopher Columbus. I've often wondered, what if they told people back then that the ball Earth was much smaller? It'd be that easy to rewrite history. But then think about it. Columbus, who sailed the ocean there across the Atlantic, thought he went to India. So he obviously thought that the ball was much, 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 much smaller, less than half the size that it is. Think of the entire Pacific Ocean, that if he was going off of Aristophanes' belief of 24,000 miles or whatever they say it is, or whatever they say he said it was, then he was so vastly off, there's no way he was that off. It's just impossible. So basically, it could be as simple as they keep expanding the ball as we discover more. And now they're at this point, and we're stuck here. And maybe there'll be another epoch where somebody discovers a new continent, and then the ball grows from there. And they'll tell our children and their grandchildren that the ball is just much bigger. So who knows? So, it's going to be we're going to have to wait and find out. So let's get to the calls. Although I did want to mention, I don't know if you guys heard that ad in between the segments there, that they're talking about adding Border Patrol agents for $33,000 a year. Well, start off with the 33. That's hilarious. But after that, I mean, we're giving people guns and paying them $33,000 a year. So that is about $625 a week. That's probably $15 an hour. That's horrendous. And that means that you're making $650 to $2,200 a month. So you can probably afford, that's more than that, but you can make $2,200 a month after taxes. And then what are you going to buy for rent? $1,100, $1,000 for rent. You're going to barely have enough money to live. And then we wonder why these people turn corrupt. It's because they're offered more money. And when they've got power and they've got control and they've got a gun and they've got an attitude, then you throw a little money their way on the side and they start becoming corrupt and allowing corruption to overtake. And then you get what we have today. Same thing with politicians, same thing. You've made it too easy for these people to become compromised. And it is what it is. I don't expect it to change. So let's go to the phones, and let's go to, we'll try one more time with this caller. It's been on for quite a while. Oh, wait, we took that one. Let's try this one. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from?
It's Luke from Los Angeles.
Luke from L.A.
Yes, sir.
How's things down there?
Dumbest. I'm doing better.
Sure.
The dumbest quotes.
Yeah, you got one?
One that cracks me up every time is, the North Star proves the Earth is a sphere.
Who said that?
By fellow Truth Frequency Radio Truth Seeker Zachary Hubbard.
Oh, well, okay. I do remember that. It's the closest star. That's why it's the North Star, because it's the closest.
Way further away.
I gotta listen to that again. That was a pretty good conversation we had there.
Classics.
I know. I was the first in my class.
I don't do as much flat Earth research, you'd say, anymore, as much as just listening to debunkings for a good laugh.
Yeah, I've not heard any myself that are very compelling. I mean, I think that there's some that we certainly need to look into, but besides that, it doesn't mean that it's false. I mean, I still haven't had somebody say something that is so captivating. I'm like, oh man, I didn't think about that. You must be right. Really, I've only found more and more the effects of perspective and how you can call those curvature, because you look down the street and things get smaller with distance, and if you look further and further away, things will get smaller and smaller with distance, and it's possible to call that curvature, because how would anybody know? They just see things getting smaller with distance, and that certainly seems like what they've done.
That's where I kind of am careful not to use the word dome, because I think that's what it is. It just looks like it's curving away from me, like you said, perspective, the atmosphere being thicker in front of us and then right above us, and it
I do too.
Out with distance, but my sister is like a theoretical mathematician, and I send her like a bunch of screen recordings. We have like Globebusters or Marty Leeds and stuff like that, like mathematic. And she basically says like the globe is the modern day Jesus, and to avoid public execution, you kind of just have to roll with the punches.
Which is why
academia.
Yeah. You described it perfectly.
She can't really speak out, but I mean, her and I will sit down, and she's in Kansas, and I'm in LA, and we'll have heart-to-hearts, and she's like, you're not crazy. Like, the points that you're bringing up are valid, and
yeah, that's why
I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
I'm happy for you that you're handling your independence. Everyone wants to say, oh, you got a divorce. I'm sorry to hear that, and it's better, that you found out the way you did than worst case scenario. But yeah, I've been listening to Jordan Peterson. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know if you've watched his biblical studies.
I've watched some stuff of his, yeah.
Yeah, he does the psychoanalytical view of the first 5 books, and I mean, that really hit home for me. Like, I feel like
did I lose you?
We all have like a divine connection, and some people throw that away for absent-mindedness, and they say ignorance is bliss, and so on and so forth. And I think that my best model, everyone wants a model. Well, okay, if it's not the globe and it's not the heliocentric model, what is it? And so I just I say, okay, if you take your hands and you put them together and you have your fingers touching and kind of make a ball, and you say that the North Pole is your middle fingers touching and Antarctica would be your thumbs and your pinkies, and you were to open that up, you kind of have the AE map, in front of their face, and they can see that. And I mean, to me, yeah, if you just wrap the celestial sphere around that and open that up, I'm finding a hard time disproving that in my head. And I know you said, from time to time, why I'm still an AE guy, but then you changed your logo to rearrange the continents. Like, where do you stand on what I'm saying?
I'm still by far an AE guy. I don't. The one issue with the AE map that has not been well explained is the Southern Star. But I think that the thing that hasn't been done yet is people have not sat down with the magnetic declination and really figured out what's going on, because there's places in Antarctica, and this is, an absolute fact. Anybody can go check this out, pull up a magnetic declination map, and you will see that there are places in Antarctica that when you stand there, the magnetic declination is 180 degrees east or west, which means if your compass is telling you that you're looking north, you must turn around.
You have to turn around
to be facing north. So, I mean, that's how screwed up they've made this whole idea of the magnetic Earth is. It can't be that off, but it's so impossible because basically every location on Earth has its own magnetic declination, and they change from anywhere from 1 degree all the way to, as I just said, 180 degrees. So wherever you're at, you're not ever looking north, and they tell you, oh, it's because that's true north, and this is magnetic north, and whatever their reasons might be, doesn't explain turning completely around. So my opinion is, even though there is a so-called Southern Star, so they say, and the stars appear to rotate around it, when you realize that, like the Southern Cross, that those certain stars within it are like 30 degrees apart, and then you start adding in magnetic declination, well, it gets too convoluted for my stupidity, to the point where I've tried to look at it and tried to kind of play with it, and I just get to the point where I'm like, man, this is too like mathematical, too analytical, and I struggle with that. So my hope has always been somebody else is going to come around and do a good job of pulling that all together. Now, that hasn't happened yet, but I think it definitely will. The problem is we've only got a few % of the entire population even looking into this, and the people that aren't are the people who are the most intelligent in those areas. Now, that's not saying that we're all so stupid. It's just the way things work out, that, you do sometimes need somebody with a mathematical mind or somebody who is really good at geometry. Doesn't mean that those things are reality. Doesn't mean math is reality. But it means that Some people are better than others at some things, and that's just something I'm able to admit that I'm not great at. And the people that are great at that are the ones who they moved up the ladder and into positions where they gave them books and told them to study them and memorize them and gave them power and degrees and told them that they were so smart. So they don't even have any idea that what they believe can't be true or might not be true. So it just becomes a perfect setup for these intellectuals who believe that they know the truth to not even look into anything else, because otherwise it means, what do you mean? I went to school and they just taught me lies? That's impossible. It's like these scientists believing, what do you mean? That I've been working for 4.5 years on this satellite that's a lie? That's impossible. Well, yeah, I wish we lived in that world too, where those things were impossible. But you need to recognize that it is possible that possibly you are just putting together something for them to kind of fool the world with. And then they return the data to you, and you see the data come back. And I mean, think what it would take for a satellite technician to test what I'm saying. It would take them having to put their job on the line and basically like not hook up some certain element of the satellite and say, I'm going to test this by not hooking it up. But everybody knows who's responsible for that part. So if it were real, I'm speaking on behalf of, or in the mind of these scientists, then they're going to be afraid that if it did go up to space and then something didn't work, it's going to come back on them. Hey, you didn't hook up this certain thing. So they have no way of finding out. They can't kind of test the waters. They would have to not install something correctly and see what happens. Now, I put that out there because maybe there's a way that they could do it and it not be known. Maybe they could tell the thing to do a certain something at a certain time secretly and check if it does. I don't know. I'm not in that industry, so I wouldn't know. But as far as what you were saying about the AE map, it is by far, to me, the best that we have. And I think a lot of things help explain. I mean, when I went looking for north-south circumnavigation, you can't find it. When I said, well, okay, how would they have done southern sea cables? You go looking for them, they're not there. How about southern cruises? You go looking for them, no such thing. So all of a sudden you realize, well, all the things that would be true if the Earth was a giant disk with the south being much larger than we expect are appearing to be correct. And then the few things that make you doubt it, like the plane flights from Santiago to Sydney, those kind of things, can be explained with simple things like the jet stream, which we know goes 250 miles per hour in the south there, and that clearly makes up for that distance. And then you add to that the fact that they got rid of the AE map off the Earth.nullschool site. Things like that are just blatant.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't do that if the Earth was a globe. What difference does it make that some people believe in the AE map? You would just leave it up and say, well, sorry, it's not true. You wouldn't take it down. Just crazy.
Yeah, if I could just, my last point would be, I can rationalize, and put myself in the shoes of a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim, or a globe believer. Obviously, you and I both, grew up and believed it up until a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But just the rejection of the evidence that's presented. Like when I first heard about it, I didn't have that gut-wrenching, reality shattering. I was just like, oh, that could be a possibility. And then I was just more and more certain, that's what it is.
So when you first heard about the flat Earth, you said you thought it was a possibility right from the bat?
Where I was coming from, I saw Tila Tequila and the Nazi uniforms, and so that just my interest was just
interesting. Yeah, I just remember not even giving it that thought that it could be. I mean, my wife said, "Well, do you think the Earth can be flat?" And I said, "No, what? No, that's ridiculously silly. How could it be flat? Planes go around it. We, just thought it was pretty ridiculous." But I did see that all it took for me was the AE map, just looking at it. And I think what hit me more than anything is the fact that I was so quick to say, how could it be flat? Planes go around it. And then to see that map and it settle in oh my goodness, planes can go around it. That was so earth-shattering to me because it really changed the way my whole life works now, that it's not good to ever say to anything no, that's not possible. Nope, can't be. Because your way of thinking can block you from seeing certain things. And that's basically what we're looking at with all of these scientific-minded, intellectual college graduates, that they have all been conditioned mentally to block any other thought than what they've been taught. And so it's just, I can see why it's incredibly difficult for them to see it. And then when you've got people like Neil deGrasse that have spoken to auditoriums full and made videos and made movies and made Cosmos, and those people, it's literally impossible.
And another dumb quote would be, I can't get it verbatim, but Joe Rogan on his Switch, he said, if anyone looks into it, that they would say there's no way it was a hoax. Like, there's no way,
yeah,
not a single way.
And his explanation for it is so ridiculous. And by the way, I thank you for the call. I'm not gonna get to these other calls if I don't move on. Thank you so much. But yeah,
Sure.
you're so right. Thank you so much. He excuse me. I'm laughing as I'm talking. That he says that the reason that he went back on it is because he doesn't understand space travel or the orbital mechanics, and so he better leaves that to the geniuses or those that specialize in that. But if that's the case, then why isn't he a Hasidic Jew? Because he doesn't understand Judaism like rabbis do. And so what he should do is defer to the rabbis who tell you everything that they believe is true, and then you have to adopt that belief system, because that's what he's doing with science. So what it is a belief in men. So he doesn't believe in rabbis because they wear funny hats and have curly cues, and he believes in Neil deGrasse because he's cool. I don't know what the reason is why you would give more to one side than the other and not recognize what peer review is. It's the same as a college of cardinals that all get together and decide what new things can be adopted by the Catholic Church. So I don't sit back and say, well, those guys have studied theology a lot longer than me, so let me defer to them. No, what you should do is go to them and ask for their proof and their evidence, like I did of priests back at my old parish when I said, are you talking to God? Have you talked to God? What made you become a priest? And I found out they're just like everybody else. They believe like everyone else, and they think it's better to give up their life on earth and get a reward in heaven than it is to not. And none of them had ever spoken to God. None of them have ever had any kind of different moment than any of us have. So they just have gone further on their belief than others. So to me, that's how you get the truth. That's how you better build your own belief systems, is ask others. Let's go to the next caller. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. I think we're going to Colorado. What's up? Who's this? Caller in the 970. I hear you scratching a match, or maybe you're whittling. Maybe you are pulling little bits of Scotch tape. You are now being put back on hold. All right, let's go to the next caller. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from?
Hey there, Jeran.
Hey there.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Hi there.
Hello there.
It's been a few weeks. This
Who
is
is
your
this?
meatballer caller.
My meatballer caller. What's up?
Yeah,
Meatballer
you're the
caller.
pancaker. I'm the meatballer.
All right,
Okay?
I'll take the pancake.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I could spend hours with you, going individually over each point that you bring up here. But the last time I talked to you, you were talking about the string that you're going to pull out over a long distance. What happened to that?
It looks like from everything we can tell that, well, this is my opinion, that it would do no good because nobody who believes in the globe would take that as evidence that they do not, because they have the out of saying, no, it didn't go into the water because of its buoyancy or its sag, and there really would be no way to prove that. What I think is impressive about the test is if it did go into the water, to me it would prove absolutely that the Earth curves. Because I can't think of a way that you could argue your way out of why the line all of a sudden dropped into the water. But it seems like...
Except for, again, you would have that sag problem, perhaps.
Right, but if we lay the line on top of the water, it's kind of floating there, and then we pull it taut, if it goes into the water, nothing about pulling it taut should have sent it into the water, in my opinion. But again, it's one of those tests that at least the response that we're getting from people is, if it didn't go into the water, the first thing would be from everybody yelling and screaming, they would say, well, there must have been a stick or a leaf or some sort of obstruction blocking the line from going in the water. And they could be right. It would be impossible to basically have that entire 2 miles or 3 miles patrolled. We could come very close with 100 people or something and try and film it for everybody, but it would still always be the case of somebody saying, well, no, there could have been some obstruction, or you didn't pull it tight enough. And for the cost of the entire project, I still think there's a better test out there, so I'm holding off on that one. But we are always looking into things.
Yeah, I went onto the website where you were saying you found that line, but I couldn't. They had too many lines on there, and I didn't know which one you were looking at. And the cost seemed like a lot more than what you were saying it was.
Well, we had somebody who works directly with. He owns a fishing line place in Australia, I think, or no, I think it's New Zealand. But he had an inside, deal with these guys. That's where we were getting that price from. But more, the problem is, I would do the test still if I could find a body of water that wasn't, basically this body of water here, it has to deal with the currents because it is tidal. It is freshwater because the tide just pushes the water one way then the other, but it's kind of always changing. It's just too many unknowns.
Right. So let me ask you a question.
Anything.
What kind of equipment do you have? What kind of equipment do you have? Do you have cameras? Do you have telescopes? Do you have inclinometers? What kind of things do you have to work with?
I mean, really, I just have a camera. I've got some high-powered lasers, like 3 of them. I've got a portable sun. It's a 6,800 lumen light that super bright. You can set it on extra bonus or boost, whatever, and it's like brighter than the sun, they say, as far as if you're looking at like a square centimeter or something. But that's pretty much all I have. As far as an inclinometer, I would love to have one, a digital one or something like that, but I don't have one.
Yeah. And a telescope? No.
I had a telescope and I gave it away because the eyepiece fell off, and I looked at it through it and I saw that everything I looked through it was bent, and I said, what the hell is going on here? And I found out it's because they say that the light coming into the telescope is bent, and therefore the job of the eyepiece is to bend it back to correctness, and that to me is just another opening for deception. How can I prove that the eyepiece is bending it correctly? I looked through it and I saw cars and telephone poles and everything in the street bent away from me as if it was a sphere. So to me that was like, well, I don't want to look at these things if they're going to be deceiving me. And I never saw anything through a telescope that wasn't easily seen through a P900.
And that's a P900 camera you have. Right?
Yeah, I only had I had an 8-inch Dobsonian. So I'm not saying it was a great telescope. I also did go to the observatory, which is up on Fremont Peak in, I don't know what city that would be called, past San Juan near Monterey, and went for one of their nights of observations and was extremely unimpressed. Very unimpressed by what we saw. It was just they were looking at the moon. They didn't really let us look at stars, but the moon just looked further zoomed in than usually I would see with my camera. And then I saw somebody there who had stay on the line. I want to talk to you, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're listening to Jeranism on RAW. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
The ayahuasca vine is the non-psychoactive component of the South American healing ceremony, ayahuasca. It is known for its anti-parasitic properties, both physically and spiritually, and is considered the spirit of Aya. The hemp plant has been considered a miracle healer by natives around the world for the powerful non-psychoactive component, cannabidiol, also known as CBDs. These miracle plants have been reported to aid relief with everything from inflammation, chronic pain, tremors, anxiety, heart palpitations, depression, and much more. For the first time, we have created the perfect synergy of the hemp and ayahuasca plants to bring you a perfect balance of mind, body, and soul. We call this Aya Life, and you can find it at ayalife.com. That's AYA life.com.
My name is David. I suffered from MS or multiple sclerosis symptoms since 1986. For years, doctors tried to help, but didn't give me any real hope. I tried almost everything. I was afraid this was my future, but I did not give up hope. 8 years ago, a healthcare worker told me about Regenistem. I called Regenistem. Regenistem explained how stem cells worked. No promises, just a simple explanation of the science. They treated me with respect and understood my journey. For the first time, I felt hope. Now I can jog and snow ski once again. It's been amazing. I have been symptom-free of multiple sclerosis for 8 years. I have learned that stem cell therapy has a broad range of medical therapy from COPD to chronic pain and diabetic neuropathy. It's an amazing therapy. If you want to talk about your chronic pain or your chronic symptoms, call Regenistem today.
Call 305-224-1858. That's 305-224-1858. 305-224-1858.
Hey everyone, this is Phoenix of Phoenix Rising Radio. Now is the time to lift your mind higher. Now is the time to rise above. How do you do this? Easy. Join us every Tuesday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern right here on Truth Frequency Radio as I explore and report the realities that we all face day to day, while also presenting higher solutions that you may use to change your world. Knowledge is power, and now is the time to power up. So be sure to join us every Tuesday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Truth Frequency Radio. And remember, wherever you are, make it TFR.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
No hate, no hype, no fear. Real people, real radio.
Welcome back. You're listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Thank you for joining me. And before the break, I was talking to my meatball friend. He calls me the pancake guy, which is kind of unfair because I do think that the pancake is all there is. So it's not really a pancake as much as you can call whatever all it is the pancake if you want. But if you don't mind, let me ask you a question because it's something that's been bugging me. Okay, so let's do a hypothetical situation. Then you can ask me anything you want. Let me just ask this. Hypothetical situation, you have a radio show on Monday nights. I drive home from work on Monday nights, and I tune into this radio show, and one night you say that water isn't wet. You no longer believe that water's wet. You think it's a hoax, and I'm laughing in my car. I think it's hilarious. How can't this guy believe that water's wet? I can't see why you claim that, and so I call you on your call-in show, and I ask you, how do you believe that? And I tell you what we know it's wet because you can soak it with a sponge, and you're dry when you get in the shower, you're wet when you get out. I try explaining it to you, and you just say, I still think that water isn't wet. At some point shortly after that, I no longer would tune into your radio show. That it wouldn't be something that I would tune in weekly or that I would keep calling you because you have clearly lost your mind. You have clearly gone outside of whatever normal thought normal people have. So my question to you would be, why hasn't the same happened for you listening to me? What about what I'm saying is keeping you here? What about what I'm saying is not taking you to the level of saying this guy has clearly just lost his mind? That's my question.
What is taking me what brought me to you in the first place is YouTube giving me suggested videos to watch. All right? So you watch one thing and it gets suggested a little bit more and more. And then I listen to you and I go over to...
That doesn't happen to me. Hold on. That doesn't happen to me. If somebody recommends a video that I go to and I don't agree with or don't like, then I just don't watch that video, and then I get other videos. So this is the thing that bothers me so much is I can't quite grasp why there's this this fight against people talking about flat Earth, because you can talk about anything in the world on any other channel and nobody says a word. They don't care. But this is something
you're talking about me, or you're talking about other people?
Well, okay. For instance, this is probably your fourth time calling in?
For me, I'm a nice guy. So I think you could use some help in understanding things. So, I would discuss it with you, and we come up with some way, equally here to come up with an answer.
Okay.
I mean, that's me. I'm not here to say, to argue with you or anything. I say we come up with something that would be beneficial.
Okay.
To both of us. Actually, okay, let me say this. I've come up with something. After your string thing, I was thinking about you need something physically in front of you to come up with the answer. Is the Earth round or not? I was trying to figure out what could it be that we could come up with that would be tangible right in front of you. And as a matter of fact, if you pulled this off, you could probably set up a Disneyland around it and have a flat Earth demonstration point. So let me set out what I came up with.
Sure.
Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So here, you're talking about putting things by a canal or whatever, so you can have water that's level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's say we take a piece of land that is, let's say, a mile long. That gives us what is about 8 inches. Is that the difference?
Yeah. 8
on a
inches
curved Earth.
Would be the drop. Yes.
8 inches would be difference from end to end.
Correct.
Okay. So now, rather than needing water, canal, let's say we use some PVC irrigation piping, 1/2 inch piping.
Okay.
You get that so far? Okay. Yep. And then every 10 feet, they come in 10-foot sections, and every 10 feet we put a T section in there, and then put a pipe going up into the air. And so then we do that for the length of a mile, and then we fill up the water, and then the water will rise up in each of those 10-foot lengths of tubing going straight up, so that it'll be level across the whole mile, and we can, every 10 feet, we can see where that level of water is at. You got that so far?
Yes.
I mean, you're understanding and you're thinking this is right. It will be level across each 10-foot section. The water would come up in that pipe at the same distance every 10 feet.
Everywhere would be the same distance.
Right. So we have a level. We don't need the canal, right?
Correct. Yeah. Water's your level.
Oh, okay. Okay. So now we take a cinder blocks and we build cinder blocks pillars up to that level every 10 feet across that mile. All right.
Okay.
And now, a trestle bridge,
yep.
Like they have for railroads,
mm-hmm.
and they have little triangle things there to make them real sturdy. So we take like maybe a 1 or 2 foot square box that we build with like in a trestle fashion, where we have the little cross beams going every which way, so that thing is totally solid, rigid. All right. And
yeah.
so we build that on top of these pillars that are all level for that 1 mile length. And now after it's all really structurally just rigid there, we either have one of two things, either a curve or we have a very straight section. Do we agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, I mean,
if the Earth is round, then even though it says it's level at the water, it's still going to be built as a curve that'll be just like 8 inches difference from end to end.
Okay, just let me talk for a second, because everyone who's listening, hold on. Everyone who's listening to this show has already heard this idea. It's called Force the Line. It's been around for 2 years. Hold on.
No.
It is exactly the same thing. It was basically to set up a level, like you said, with the water, and then you're talking about building a structure that we try and maintain its with the triangle pieces, with the corner pieces, or with a carpenter's level, whatever. But you try and keep that straight line. But you're talking about 8 inches of change over the course of a mile, and any kind of error at any point in the entire mile structure would equate to well over 8 inches of mistake by the end. It's not possible. I mean, I've had engineers that have written me and told me that it is impossible to, even with machined parts, to keep it within 8 inches of tolerance over a mile distance. So I think
but
what you're describing.
That's not what I'm talking about, though.
Okay, go ahead. Continue then.
It's not the force of the line, because I understand what you're saying when you say that, because I saw some other guy put that idea out there. Okay, so it's not looking at this. I'm not talking about building two structures and one even and the other one going along that water level. It's what I'm talking about is you just build this structure, however it is, you just build it on the top of these pillars that are at the water level. Now, if the earth is flat, then that square box section that you have, you get a bunch of people over there and you flip the thing on its side. Okay?
Okay, so stop right now because I'm not understanding. Hold on. Let's go back to, you've got the PVC pipe, you've got it laid out for a mile, you've got every 10 feet, every 20 feet, whatever, you've got a section that pops up like a T-bar, and then we fill the whole thing, and now each T-bar section that's sticking up towards the sky has water in it, let's say 2 inches from the top. Now I don't understand what you're talking about with this triangle or a box that people lay on its side, so you have to explain that better.
Okay. So I say first we build pillars, like posts, like you were building a cinder block wall.
Okay.
And let's say and picture that there's like a stepping stone on top of the cinder block wall. We build this thing, let's say 4 feet high, these pillars. And then a cinder block, like a stepping stone on top of each one of those pillars. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all level with the water.
Correct.
So now it's either totally flat or it's a little bit of a curve. But at this point, we don't care.
Okay.
Now we take, let's say we take some 1x2 furring strips, wood, whatever it is. I don't know. Find a bridge builder that would figure out what the most solid thing is.
Okay.
Now you build like a bridge over all of these pillars for a mile long, a square box. It is not connected to the pillars, but it's just laying on top of the pillars.
Gotcha.
So now after you build this totally super solid structure, now you get a bunch of people to stand at each pillar beside this long structure, and you just flip it on its side now. 90 degrees. You turn it 90 degrees.
The box, the bridge.
The box, this long bridge box. You just flip it on its side.
How would you flip something a mile long on its side?
Like I say, you'd have to have somebody standing at each one of these pillars.
Okay, got you.
It's only a 10-second foot between each person, and so you just flip it. Now, if the Earth is totally flat, it'll really flip real easy, and it's totally flat, totally straight. Everything's just works out just fine. You just flip it, and the ends will match up on each pillar at each end. If it's curved, then there'll be 8 inches off of each end. At each end, it'll be 4 inches off. It won't match up on the pillar. Do another 90-degree turn, so now it's totally upside down from the way it was before. And if it's totally flat, it'll still just be flat on those pillars. If it's not flat, then the curve will be going the opposite direction than when it was first built, and the ends will be lifted up in the air.
Okay, I like your idea because I'm picturing. Now I see what you're saying. I like the idea. Okay, so you're saying when we first built it with these stones or these cinder blocks, whatever, and we build the structure that you're talking about on top of it, and then you're saying when we all flip it, that now that would reveal the curve. But I guess I'm confused as to what is different about why it's laying a certain way when we build it on the cinder blocks, and then when we flip it, what has changed about the part that's touching the cinder blocks?
Well, if the Earth is totally flat, then there will be no change. It will totally flip it over, 180 degrees, like a dog's legs are up in the air, right? Okay, you flip 180 degrees, and if the Earth is totally flat, there will be no change. The ends will still hit the cinder blocks. If the Earth is at a curve, then now the curve is actually flipped up in the air, and the ends won't touch the end cinder blocks. It'll be 4 inches off on each end. Or if you push one end down, then the other end will be 8 inches up. Or actually, it'll be double that because you're flipping it up. It'll actually be double of what the Earth's curve is. Right. So it'll actually be 16 inches up.
Will you do me one favor? Will you draw either on a piece of paper and take a photo of it or something what you're talking about building and then send it to my email, because I can't grasp building a box and then flipping.
Okay, let's make this real easy. Okay.
Well, maybe other people at home are.
Let's say you put the globe. Put a globe on your. If you have a little desk globe or anything like that.
Okay.
Okay. So now. Okay. And then put a flat map on the ground. Now I don't know. You have something that bends like a lead pipe or something. A lead. Like a piece of solder or something like that.
Okay.
You have anything, or like a paper clip that is stretched out, or a piece of wire that you can bend and okay. So now let's just picture that let's picture that the same thing is built. Let's say we're building it on the globe. This will show you the difference. So let's say you can picture we build this pillars all halfway around the globe. Okay. So you just push that paper clip and bend it around the globe.
Okay.
Okay, that's our bridge that we just built. Okay, now flip it up to two ends. Flip it up 180 degrees. You can see that curve is now opposite of what the globe is, right?
Okay, you kept saying turn it. Yeah, you kept saying turn it on its side. I'm sorry. I understand now. Okay. You said turn it on its side. You're talking about turning it completely over.
Like you have it. Yeah,
you're
180
upside
degrees.
Down. Upside down. Okay, got you.
Let's say a dog, like I say, a dog is standing up, and then dog's legs are totally in the air. Okay,
I like
180 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's totally opposite of what the curve of the Earth is.
Correct.
Now, if it's a flat Earth, like you have if you did the same thing on a flat Earth map that you have on the table,
mm-hmm.
It's going to just be a straight line, and you flip it over, it's not going to matter. It's going to flip real easy, and the ends will stay flat.
No, I got you now. Okay, I totally understand now.
That's something very substantial and very repeatable. And then you could build a big building around the thing and then sell tickets for somebody to come in and watch you do it, you know?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. I wonder only if there's any mechanics out there or any engineers. Please tell me if that's feasible, because what you're talking about is a mile-long structure of wood, basically, that, is going to be...
Or you could find a bridge person, that knows what what materials to build it out of. I mean, it's not a cheap thing, but if you wanted to do it...
No, and I'm all for, I've got enough subscribers now that I'm pretty sure that we can fund whatever we decide to do. I know I've basically got like one chance at this, meaning if I come out with some experiment that's going to cost us $25,000 and over the course of a month we raise that and then we blow it, or it's not some test that works out, then my chances are gone.
I think it actually might cost more than that. Yeah, I mean, let's say you have to buy the land because this is something that you're going to leave there. I mean, it's going to have to be there for a long period of time.
Right.
So, but you could find maybe somebody has a long strip of land that needs to be, real skinny and real long that they're willing to sell for cheap, and it can be out in the middle of nowhere. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I appreciate the idea, because there's not very many times that I hear a new idea that I think is good. But what you just said is correct. That yes, if you were to be able to build that kind of arc that matches exactly to the water, and then flip it upside down, you should instantly see if nothing changes, then we've got pretty much a flat section of water over the course of a mile. And if we see a U appear, or a very small U, but like you said, 4 inches on each side, or actually probably more, then you would know that there is clear curvature. And that is actually observational. It's not a optical experiment, so it is mechanical. It is something that people could see and touch and feel.
And very repeatable over and over again.
Yep. No, I totally agree. So thank you for that.
Okay. See, that's why I call you back.
Well, thank you.
I'm a nice guy.
You are a nice guy.
It feels like I'm both.
And I'm a nice guy too, but the thing is that after like 2 or 3 calls in and trying to explain to you that water was wet, I would probably just give up and move on. But maybe I'm not as nice as you.
But
so
this is on both sides, right? This is something that would benefit both sides. One way or another, you would figure it out.
Absolutely. That's my goal too.
If it's flat, somebody would flip it and it's just totally flat, then you go, man, it would be mind-boggling on my side, and on your side it would be mind-boggling. You'd go, oh, it's up on the ends, and that would boggle your mind, right?
Yeah, but it would be
right
proof.
Either way.
For me, it kind of boggles my mind.
So now the only thing would be...
Well, it boggles my mind that we at this point in humanity don't have an experiment that is something like that, a physical experiment that people can go look at, that they can see. It should be easily done. I mean, these corporations that spend billions or millions a day, that's all it would cost is a few $1 million. This could be done in a weekend, and yet nobody's stepping forward to do it, although they're also sure that they live on a globe. Then step up and prove it, show us. And nobody will do that. Why not? I don't know. You ask me.
Well, you could be the first one and prove it. I mean, you could have a display.
All right, well, I appreciate that. I got to go because I got lots of calls, so thank you for that call. I think it's a great idea. Let's go to the next call. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from? I'll get to everybody on the whole week.
Brian,
so I know there's
calls.
Hey, Brian, what's up? Hold on one second. I got 3 other people on but after you, so I'm just telling you guys I will get there. Don't hang up. Go ahead, shoot. You have 2 minutes.
Keep up the good work. Sorry about the situation. And, yeah, we all love you in Canada. And talk to the next guy, dude. Go for it.
I wish I could have seen what everybody described as being this huge, lovely horizon and how far you can see and everything. And all I got was smoke. Smoke and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Has it gotten as far as you yet or no?
Oh, no. Well, there's planes that you can watch your dog walk or run away for like 3 days. That's the joke.
I still found it shocking that, I said, well, where's the fire from here? They're like 1,000 miles. I'm like, what? Why the hell is it so smoky here? But I guess it makes sense. I mean, it's east of that, where the fires are. Like where we live here, we're right next to the Yosemite fires, the Carr fire, which is like over 100,000 acres, but we're west of it. So we don't see any of the smoke. But I guess over there in Edmonton, they're east of where all the fires are.
And the mountain ranges too, right? That'll just keep everything on one side.
Yeah, no, totally.
Like,
well, I appreciate it. How's the Sugar Bushwhackers? Everybody doing good?
Oh, fantastic. Great crew. You got to love them.
All right. Well, thanks for the call.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to these other 2. I appreciate it. Let's go to, I believe we're sticking in California, or we're going to California. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Hello, caller.
Hey, Jeran.
Hey, there you go.
Oh, I just wanted to check in and just say, fasten your heart. I mean, I know it's a bad situation, but hopefully, the heart will be mended.
To be honest, I hope so, but I just don't know. So we'll give it time and see what time says.
I'm so sorry for you, and I've listened to every single episode that you've ever put online and watched every single video that you've put online and been really invested in your relationship, and I understand that it's sensitive, and I hope that everything with you will be okay.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot.
Yeah. So that's basically all I said. I just wanted to just chime in and just say, you know what, I'm sending all of my love and all of my prayers and hope that you are okay.
Well, thank you so much.
I've been through it. Many people have been through it and that listen to you, and I'm sure that we all just have our best interest for you.
Well, thank you for that, and appreciate the call. And you're right. I've been so shocked by the amount of people that have said this happened to them. Again, I think some people don't reveal that, and so for me, this is the first time that's happened to me. I didn't know so many people who have been through the exact same thing. So many marriages have been through the exact same thing. So definitely an eye opener. Let's go to the next caller in North Chakalaka. I think you're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from?
What's up, man? It's Jake, North Carolina.
Hey, how are you?
So the guy with I'm all right, man. The guy with the pillars and the mile long and putting the PVC pipe and the level and all that. Look, guys, when you're building something, if you're going to make it level from the base up, of course the top's going to be level. And when you flip that pipe, it's going to be level because you build it on something level. So,
but here's the thing. The globe believers believe that level is curved. So this is the problem: is that over distances that we're talking about, who would ever notice? I mean, really, imagine this. You take level, a 1 foot level, a little bubble level, and you glue another one to the side of it. And then you glue another one to the side of it. If you believe in the globe, then you believe that after 25,000 miles that you will end up where you started. And yet every single level that you glued to each other was level with the one before it, was level with the one before it, but magically we end up where we started.
I tell you what, it's hard. It's so hard. We need to look at rainbows more. That's the only place we see a curve. We need to explain that. And as far as a guy making one in his house or in his room,
check out.
He had a curve.
Yeah, well, and then lights are usually in a curved light bulb as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So really it becomes pretty tough.
You can use cups. You can use cups and stuff and make a kind of a curve round, but you can't make it like outside, man. Come on. There's a reason it's curved that way.
It's pretty incredible.
We all know
what we see. Pretty incredible.
We all know that there's a solid surface there. We all know. That's what causes the shape of that rainbow.
All right. Well, I appreciate the call, and we've got just 2 minutes left. So just want to say again, thank you to everyone for your support in every way, whether it's moral or those of you who have financially helped. Thank you so much to all my patrons. I couldn't do this without you. You've actually, really made this a possibility that I could continue doing this. We're getting to the point where I was getting close. But thank you guys so much. And if you haven't donated and you would like to see me continue this work and just researching and discovering and revealing everything I find, then please head over to patreon.com/Jeranism or paypal.me/Jeran. Either one is greatly appreciated. And if people don't donate, then I just can't do this as much. And I will certainly do all that I can because, the truth is what I'm after. And I'm just trying to bring everybody along with me. That's my goal. I thank Missa for coming on the first half hour. She didn't have to do that. She didn't have to ever say a word. But I appreciate her apologizing to both me and you, because I also make the apology to you that, here I am telling you guys how much I hate liars and how to look out for them and how to spot their deceit. And I didn't see, one in my own backyard. So I echo everyone's sentiment that, I hope that there is a possibility for mending of fences. But on the other hand, sometimes that's the one thing you don't want to do. If everyone was honest, the world would be fixed. It would be heaven on earth, all those things, the kingdom of God that we were all talking about. Those things are possible because they're really simply a step away. They're just take care of the person to your right, spend all day making sure that they are happy, and you'll realize that that's all you got to do is take care of that one person. And because you don't even have to take care of yourself, because the person next to you would be taking care of you. And then you've got the world problem solved. Everyone is taken care of. Everyone is happy. And, occasionally maybe somebody has a baby and they've got two people to take after. And we have to throw some help around. But really, it's not that difficult to do. And it's something that, when you've got people hoarding other people's money, and you just got problems. So thank you guys for joining me, and we'll see you next week for more Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Till then, peace.